Chapter 1608, Arriving at Master. Chapter 1608, Arriving at Master to be able to make a move, it was definitely not an exaggeration. The moment he stepped into Zhang Clan Valley, Long Fei's slaughter mode had started. Those Zhang Clan disciples rushed forward and shouted, "You dare to come here and behave atrociously. Today will be your doomsday." Before he could finish his words, his chest was crushed by the palm force release from Long Fei's body, causing blood to spurt out crazily from his mouth, killing him instantly. Ding! The system sounded out. Long Fei didn't pay any attention to it, because his current level was already at the peak. If he couldn't break through, then no matter how much experience points he had, it would be useless unless he could draw in the heavenly tribulation. However, he had not reached that point yet. Boom! As the sword in his hand fell, another wave of disciples' heads were decapitated. Ding, ding, ding. A series of system beep sounds rang out. After consecutively killing a few people, Long Fei suddenly stopped as he thought in his heart. Domain Treasure Series. Buzz! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the Domain Treasure Essence Sword. Ding! The Domain Treasure Yuan Essence has been absorbed. The energy will fill up the entire layer. The current main artifact had already been transformed into the Dragon Coffin mode. Although there were 2 levels of evolution, each of them were unrelated to the other. Thus, it would not affect the filling of energy, but it was still the same. The energy filling up of the main artifact in Golden Cudgel mode had already reached level 100. As long as Long Fei released it, he could instantly enter Sun Wukong mode. And what Long Fei needed to do now was to kill people, striking energy value, and also Berserk Domain Treasure. Boom, boom, boom. Long Fei acted as if there was no one around. Every place he went was filled with killing intent. Not a single one was left. Warhouse, it must be extinguished today. Kill him. Hurry up and kill him. I can't do it. How powerful can a mere Long Fei be? Disciples of the Zhang clan, listen up. Attack. At the same time, the injured Zhan's elder quickly ran to Zhan Tiantu's courtyard. Seeing the disciples of the Zhang clan fall one by one, and with Long Fei coming over step, his heart turned slightly cold. The more Long Fei killed, the braver he became. He was completely intoxicated in this world of slaughter. One had to know that he walked the path of death. It was to slaughter its way into the Tao, and everything was going wild. This is bad. This is bad. At the entrance of the 9 secret borders, a few clan elders knelt on the ground and shouted loudly. Clan leader, Long Fei, Long Fei. Long Fei has attacked and entered the valley. What? The space between Zhan Tiantu's eyebrows tightened. At this time, a master snorted coldly. If I don't go look for him, he'll come look for us first. All right, little bastard. Today we'll see how capable you are. Boom! The door of the 9 secret borders suddenly opened, and a white figure flew out like lightning. Zhan Tian laughed in his heart. You dog, let's see how long you can continue being so arrogant for. The remaining 7 Master S walked out of the secret world. Let's go. Let's see if Long Fei has 3 heads and 6 arms. Even 3 heads and 6 arms are crippled. If this kid really is a descendant of a dragon clan, then it might be beneficial for us to cultivate the power of the dragon tomb. Don't rush to kill him. The old man in the lead spoke plainly. At this time, an old man said, Big brother, do you want to take that fellow from the dragon's necropolis out for a walk? The dragon soul battle god must be really cool. Everyone looked at him. The leading old man shook his head and said, There's no need to rush. A mere lame duck does not require us to use our trump cards. Dragon Soul Battle God. The colossal dragon's soul used the fitted soul spirit body technique to merge with its body and transform itself into an extremely powerful dragon energy. This was the strongest power of the 9 secret borders. It was also their Zhan clan's strongest trump card. He would not use it unless he absolutely had to. Boom! Boom! Long Fei, you dog. Give me your life. Chapter 1609, The First Cannon in Zhanjia Valley. Chapter 1609, The First Cannon in Zhanjia Valley, as soon as he finished. The white shadow of the ancestors of Zhan shook. Boom! The ground suddenly exploded as waves of powerful spirit chi rushed towards Long Fei like shock waves. Everything around him was cracking. The air exploded. His body was suffused with a golden glow as he was released one by one. The eyes of the Zhan clan disciple were blazing as he knelt down. Greetings, Master. The corner of Long Fei's mouth lifted slightly as he laughed excitedly. Boss, I like it. The golden light emitted by the old man's body was almost the same as the light emitted by the battle letter. The old man's golden light was almost the same as the light emitted from the battle letter. However, Long Fei glanced at his striking energy value. We are still a few people away from going berserk with one more domain treasure. Long Fei, Zhan Hong bellowed, his two eyes staring at Long Fei with an intense killing intent. He coldly said, "How can the Zhan clan allow you to be so presumptuous?" Buzz, buzz, buzz. While they were talking, the pressure from Zhan Hong's body surged like an avalanche as it rushed towards Long Fei. Zhan Hong shouted, "Kneel down." Rumble. A sound of explosion rang out, and a strong pressure and thunderous might swept over. Very strong. Extremely strong. But Long Fei acted as if he did not care, and with a move of his body, he landed in front of one of the Zhan clan disciples, sneered and said, "This old man is being too presumptuous." Ow! Crack! Then the battle clan disciple would instantly be killed by Long Fei. Under normal powerhouse's current state, a semi-realistic realm could instantly kill a powerhouse, and even a semi-realistic realm's powerhouse would not be able to block 3 of his attacks. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Zhan clan disciple for obtaining 1000 EXP, 100 holy source points, 10 energy values points. At the peak of Long Fei's level, he had less and less experience. However, there was no change in the striking energy value at all. There are still 2 people left. Long Fei laughed coldly. At this time, Zhan Hong's divine might had already smashed into Long Fei's consciousness, causing it to surge crazily. The power in his mind roiled. Long Fei's body also sank slightly. Zhan Hong roared, "Kneel!" Boom! The power on Zhan Hong's body exploded outwards, and the divine might could be seen with the naked eye as it rushed towards Long Fei like a wild beast. If Long Fei were to be crushed like this, he would not be able to move even if he was not injured. However, Long Fei still ignored him. He moved. Shua! He instantly appeared in front of the 2 disciples, grinned, and said, "You too die." Boom, boom, ding, ding. The 2 system beep-s sounded out. At this moment, Long Fei moved his hand, releasing 100 points of striking energy value in exchange for a domain treasure. Ding! System notification. The energy of the main gun has been filled up. The system beep descended. Haha. Long Fei grinned. Seeing the incoming divine might, Long Fei stared at Zhan Hong and laughed coldly. Smile? Later, you will kneel on the ground and cry. Zhan Hong scoffed. He basically did not place Long Fei in his eyes, and Long Fei did not have the qualifications either. Never seen it before. Now that he had met Long Fei, he was even more certain that a lame duck like Long Fei was simply unworthy of being mentioned in the same breath as him. I cry? Let's see who cries. Long Fei's gaze tensed up. The system beep sounded again. Ding. Target locked. Long Fei moved his body, placing the dragon coffin on his shoulder. He locked on his Zhan Hong and shouted, "Idiot, tremble. Fire." Boom. The dragon coffin moved. The energy released from the 5-layer domain treasure formed a strong main gun power, locking on a Zhan Hong and blasting out. This is my first shot at the battle house. Bring it on. Explode the heaven and earth. After firing the cannon, Long Fei withdrew his main artifact and stood still on the spot as he looked at the distant Zhan Hong, with a cold and scornful smile on his face. Zhan Hong's gaze tensed up. He suddenly felt the powerful energy from the cannonball, but he did not panic, but laughed coldly. A mere energy cannon like that can injure me? I am a divine level powerhouse. Just this little thing. Overestimating yourself. In that instant, Zhan Hong's figure moved, and a divine light shield appeared around his body, slashing out with a palm. Destroy. Long Fei laughed. He laughed happily. Is a divine-level powerhouse awesome? A little thing. Overestimating your capabilities? You'll soon know what the power of a gadget is. As long as the main gun could lock on, it would be killed with a blast. Not to mention in Chaos Realm, even in Divinity, it would be the same. The first thing main gun did was to kill one of the Divinity yes. This divine-level powerhouse in Yox? When Zhan Hong released the power of his palm, it was completely useless as it pierced straight through. The wrinkles on Zhan Hong's forehead deepened as he moved his feet and jumped out at full speed. Flee, aren't you awesome? Didn't you despise this kind of small thing? Escape your sister. Do you think you can escape? Long Fei laughed out loud. He had never seen such an idiot before. Under the main gun, not a single blade of grass grew. Zhan Hong felt more and more that this energy cannon was not simple. Zhan Hong moved, body fusion of the idea. Chua. In almost an instant, an idea was used to condense a fake body. Soon, the speed also slightly startled Long Fei. However, there was no use in using a fake body, because the target was real face Zhan Hong. So no matter how many fake bodies he released, it was useless. Chua. He went around the fake body and threw it at Zhan Hong. This time, Zhan Hong was stupid. Long Fei laughed loudly. Come on, aren't you awesome? Didn't the ancestors of Zhan's look down on everything? Come on, take it head on. Master, I think it's an old dog. Huh. Zhan Hong was enraged to the point that smoke came out his head. Seeing the energy cannonball getting closer, he also threw caution out of the window, lowering his body and taking root under his feet. He converted all the energy on his body into a shield and roared out, "Let me see how strong your energy cannonball is." Before he could finish his words, boom! A loud explosion resounded. Zhan Hong's body disappeared. He was blasted into the sky. At the right time, Zhan Tiantu and the other 7 ancestors of Zhan's rushed over. Where is he? Zhan Tiantu looked at Long Fei in the distance, then looked at the surrounding battle clan disciples who were in a daze. The master in the lead was also shocked. He could not see Zhan Hong's figure in the surroundings, and he could not help but call out, "Junior brother?" He had disappeared. It was really strange. That was the ancestors of Zhan's. Just when they were about to ask where they were, all the disciples looked up at the sky with stupefied expressions. At the same time, a brain fell from the sky. Clang! Just like a broken basin falling down, and coincidentally rolled down to Zhan Tiantu's feet, his skull turning black and still smoking. One shot, one kill. Chapter 1610 next. Chapter 1610 next. He was stupefied. Everyone was dumbfounded. Even Long Fei himself was a little dumbstruck, because he had forgotten something very important. The main gun's power was too great. After one cannon blast, Zhan Hong's body only had this piece of brain left. Everything else had turned into ashes. Nothing else remained. They were all turned into ashes. He only left behind 10 points of energy values and no experience for Long Fei. Long Fei secretly groaned in his heart. I forgot about this. It was the same for the powerhouse who had killed Divinity last time. He did not even fart, not because he did not want to explode, but because the main gun's power was too strong, causing him to forcefully blast to death anything that could be dropped. So bitter. My boss. It disappeared just like that. Long Fei felt bitter in his heart. This main gun must not be used carelessly in the future. It's so angry. Zhan Tiantu looked at the smoking skull beneath his feet, and then said in a daze, "This is Master Zhan Hong?" The 7 Masters also stared at the heads on the ground. His brain couldn't react in time. All the Zhan clan disciples nodded. A single blast had turned him into a complete mess. Zhan Tiantu stared at an elder and bellowed, "How did Master Zhan Hong become like this?" Then the elder immediately raised his head and replied, "Replying clan leader, I was beaten to this state by Long Fei in a single move." Impossible. With a roar, as Zhan's elder walked out, his eyes stared straight at Long Fei and said solemnly, "I do not care how he died." In short, with a flick of a finger, He pointed at Long Fei's nose with extreme anger and killing intent as he said, "You're about to die." Long Fei shrugged. "Really?" Zhan Hong had said the same thing just now, but now that he is dead, I'm still alive. Ah! The old man was enraged. The divine aura on his body erupted like a tsunami, his divine power surging as he rushed out. He pierced through the space and instantly landed in front of Long Fei. With a flip of his right hand, his palm struck towards Long Fei's head. Too fast. Too fast. It was so fast that he couldn't even see it clearly. A light flashed in everyone's eyes. He's dead for sure. Long Fei is dead for sure. He can't react at this speed at all. It was only a moment ago when Master Zhan Hong was careless. It's definitely impossible now. Long Fei will definitely die. Many of the Zhan clan disciples started to discuss with each other. Strength was everything. The difference between the realm of the semi-realistic realm and that of the divine level was too great, so Long Fei was unable to reverse it. With a flip of his right hand, a gigantic palm print appeared in the sky. Even if Long Fei was fast enough, he could not dodge it because the palm print was simply too big. However, Long Fei did not plan to dodge. Don't be terrified. Exactly. Long Fei's speed was not good, but his reaction speed was not slow. The moment Zhan's elder moved, his idea sank, controlled the force on his forehead, and shouted, "Sky Eye, open!" Buzz! On his forehead, his third eye opened. Last time he only used his healing power. It could be said that healing was not the strong point of Sky Eye, but its strong point was attack. Looking at an extra eye on Long Fei's forehead, the old man could not help but mock him. "One more eye and you're good? Kid, this world is about strength. Die! Rumble, rumble, rumble." With a flip of the palm imprint, it shattered the void and pressed towards Long Fei with a divine might. The entire Zhan clan valley began to tremble. In the distance, the mountains shattered and the earth quaked. Under the huge force, Long Fei's body was barely able to resist, and he started to tremble. But between his brows, his third eye stared at the old man and shouted, "Sky Eye!" Purple light shot out. "Bring it on. Let me witness your strength." The power of his heaven's eyes activated. A violet light flashed. Suddenly, Long Fei's eyes instantly became like a machine gun, but what it shot out was not a bullet, but a purple beam of light. Boom, 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 boom. Explosions exploded in the air one after another. What level of holy artifact is the Heaven's Eyes? A main artifact. Its strength and speed were not comparable to the main gun, but slaughtering the powerhouse S of the one-star godhood wasn't a problem at all. Boom, 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 boom. Asterisk rays of purple light pierced through the body of the ancestors of Zhan's. In a short span of half a breath, the master, who was in midair and had a divine might, turned into a sieve. Blood spewed out of his mouth. His body's defense was completely useless. The thing that Long Fei felt the most was that when the purple light was shot out, his body would tremble at the same time. This feeling was too exhilarating. The bloody wound on Zhan's elder's head nearly bottomed out in an instant. However, a middle-stage Heaven's Eye holy artifact consumed too much energy. A single beam of purple light was equivalent to 1,000,000 points of holy source, and each time, it would cost tens of millions of holy source S. Rumble. A purple light pierced through Zhan's elder's head. His body exploded. The huge palm print in the sky also dissipated. Long Fei said excitedly, "The divine level powerhouse is impressive. This daddy precisely killed you divine level powerhouse S. F asterisk CK. Explode for me. Rumble. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing ancestors of Zhan's for obtaining 320 million experience points, 100 million holy source points, and 10 energy values points. Congratulations to the player Long Fei for obtaining the Heavenly Bone Sacrifice. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 9 Underworld Battle Blood. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining a series of berserk attacks." Long Fei looked at the object that exploded, and his gaze tensed up. Heavenly Bone Shackles? The letter also dropped. This time, another one dropped. Could it be the same power as the God's Bone taboo and the God's Stella Stone? Seeing the two words, heavenly bone, Long Fei couldn't help but think of the God's Bone taboo. The current magic body was a completely independent body. He had been sent by Long Fei to a mysterious place to kill monsters and level up. If she was by his side, Long Fei would make the magic body fuse with the heavenly bone Shrek. Perhaps it could make the devil god or the heavenly calamity divine tree in his body even stronger. Another Zhan's elder died. He had not expected this at all. Long Fei's heaven's eyes widened and looked at the few white-haired elders beside Zhan Tiantu. The corners of his mouth curled up, and he said excitedly, "Wow, there's still 6 super bosses. It's so fun." Long Fei still had a lot of power that he couldn't release. Looking at their blank expressions, Long Fei reminded them, "Stop blanking out. Who's next? Or should I say, all of you come at once?" Incomparable savagery. The semi-realistic realm was crazy enough to not put these divine-level powerhouse in its eyes. At this moment, the remaining 6 ancestors of Zhan's all burned with fury, their eyes staring straight at Long Fei, their killing intent growing dark and dense. At the same time, Nangong Yin looked at the sky above him, pointed at a spot, and said, "That is the entrance to the heavenly palace of the Tower Question of God." Chapter 1611, 72 Transformations. Chapter 1611, 72 Transformations Attack. Inside Zhan Clan Valley, War Tiger shouted. The 6 Master instantly moved. Almost at the same time, he landed beside Long Fei. The 6 of them had joined forces. There was no precedent. This had never happened in the history of the Zhan Clan before. It was unimaginable for the 6 great master to work together to fight against a single semi-realistic realm. However, in this world, no one cared about how weak their opponents were. They only cared about who the final victor was. Means were not important. The most important thing was the result. The 6 of them disappeared into thin air, and all of the Zhan clan disciples became excited. Long Fei is dead for sure now. Let's see how long he can stay alive with the 6 great masters. Long Fei, prepare to die. Zhan Tiantu stroked his beard and smiled. He was very clear on the cultivation levels of the 6 masters. They were definitely able to kill Long Fei in an instant, because they are the ancestors of Zhan's, the powerhouse at the peak of the Zhan clan. Zhan Tiantu looked at Long Fei, who was not far away, and revealed a cold and scornful smile. He muttered, "With your death, you could also be considered to have eliminated a hidden danger for Wushuang." The pressure was like a mountain, and the roar was like the sea. Layers upon layers of pressure crushed down, unable to resist. The ground that Long Fei occupied caved in, and the sky darkened. The pressure that the 6 of them were releasing was causing crackling sounds to ring out. Powerful. Incomparable power. Long Fei's body trembled. His skin was caving in. This was the first time he had felt such a strong pressure, and this kind of feeling was extremely uncomfortable. At the same time, it made him extremely frustrated. F***CK. The attack that Lousy hates the most is coercion. Trying to act cool at the divine level? Then let's see how you die. Long Fei lowered his voice and linked with the golden cudgel, shouting, "Activate your energy, Sun Wukong's power. Activate for me." Buzz! Rays of red light flashed on the golden cudgel that were at the 100 layer of energy. Following the movement of Long Fei's idea, the energy on the golden cudgel exploded. A loud sound echoed out. A strand of energy from the main artifact rushed into Long Fei's body. Shua! Long Fei's body changed as he became a Sun Wukong. The expression on the faces of the 6 masters suddenly changed. Long Fei's sudden transformation caused them to be a little shocked. However, in just an instant, the 6 of them didn't weaken at all. "Long Fei, give me your life." Die! Roaring, the powerful attacks of the 6 people fell like thunder. The combined strength of the 6 was simply too strong. So powerful that it was unshakable. The moment his power dropped, Long Fei grinned, and the idea moved, change. Chua. His figure disappeared. Long Fei transformed into a golden-winged Motzi and immediately disappeared. The change from Sun Wukong to a mosquito was as easy as lifting a finger. Rumble, rumble, rumble. With the explosion of power, the entire Zhan clan valley began to tremble. The ground began to crack, and many Zhan clan disciples were forced to the ground by the powerful shockwave. However, Long Fei was not their target of attack. "I'm here." Long Fei appeared from the real face, giggled, and said, "Aren't you guys a little too weak?" Long Fei appeared not far behind them. The 6 of them were enraged. They looked at each other, and without any hesitation, they launched another palm attack. This time, it was even fiercer, stronger. The war tiger roared out, "Pay attention to his chi. Watch his movements." Understood. 6 big attacks landed, and 2 of the Master S kept their eyes on Long Fei. But right at the moment when the 6 attacks struck Long Fei shouted in his heart, "Change!" Chua! He disappeared once more. Ancestors of Zhan's looked extremely confused as he said, "Big brother, he's gone. Big brother, your aura disappeared as well." This is impossible." Just as they were stunned, Long Fei was already standing behind them. He mocked, "Divine-level powerhouse S are also so mediocre, weak chicken." Ha ha ha. This was simply an insult. Twice he missed, and he was laughed at. How could he tolerate this? As a member of the ancestors of Zhan's, even though he had so many disciples, he could not help but feel embarrassed. Anger Sword. The leader of the Master War Tiger shouted, "We'll split up and move out." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Astra's 6 points fell into different places in an instant. The War Tiger continued. "The idea have joined hands." Boom! The 6 people's auras formed a powerful idea net and surrounded Long Fei. In that case, it would be hard for Long Fei to escape. However, it was just their way of thinking. "Kid, let's see how you will escape this time." The War Tiger roared in anger and took the initiative to attack. "Wow, I'm so scared." Long Fei pretended to be afraid, and when the Wartager's attack fell, his figure changed again. His body disappeared. He turned into a small bug and slowly crawled away. A few seconds later, Long Fei's body recovered. Continue. The moment his body was about to recover, another Ancestors of Zhan struck over. "Let's see where you can dodge to." Whoosh! Long Fei's figure disappeared again. Boom! It disappeared again. Boom! Still disappeared. When Long Fei disappeared, his aura also disappeared, leaving nothing behind. The combined attack of the 6 failed. Separating attacks or failing. Long Fei's mouth had a cold smile and said, Come, you Asterisk King came to hit me." He had a despicable look on his face. Everyone hated him so much that their teeth itched. The anger in the hearts of the 6 Master almost ignited his body. The War Tiger stared at Long Fei and shouted, "You dog, if you have the guts, don't run away." "What's the big deal?" Long Fei grinned. "Hit me if you dare. You are all trash. Ancestors of Zhan's? Divine? In my opinion, it's just a bunch of old trash. What use do you think all of you have? If the 6 of you can't even deal with me, semi-realistic realm cultivator, then how can you all have the face to live? Mine is blushing for you. Look at your grandchildren. Don't you all feel ashamed?" Long Fei said with a smile. In his mind, he was also constantly paying attention to the time he needed to transform. The transformation only took 3 minutes. It had been almost 2 minutes now. What he needed to do now was to collapse the hearts of the 6 Master S. Under these circumstances, their defenses will be reduced by 1-fold. The War Tiger swept a glance at the Zhan clan disciples around. Those Zhan clan disciples all lowered their heads, not daring to look at her directly. Obviously, they all felt that it was a bit shameful when Long Fei said so much. Ancestors of Zhan's furiously shouted, "You dog, I will cripple you." His heart had already collapsed. The corner of Long Fei's mouth lifted slightly, revealing a sinister cold smile. "It's time for me to explode." Chapter 16:12 Violent Killing. Chapter 16:12 Violent killing. Playing tricks only broke their hearts, made them angry, made them go crazy, made them lose their mind. In this case, the alliance of the six Masteress had been completely lost. This was what Long Fei wanted. One of the Master roared towards Long Fei without a care. Everyone thought that Long Fei would use some strange method to dodge the explosion, so no one paid attention to Long Fei's current position, but rather to another place. They wanted to see clearly the rules of Long Fei's movement. But, buzz! The golden cudgel combusted and the great sage's power surged out. Facing the Zhan's elder divine, Long Fei went up to face him. Boom! The Samisen True Fire's burning staff smashed down. Too fast, too fierce. It fiercely smashed onto the head of the ancestors of Zhan's. Bam! His entire body was like a nail nailed to the ground as he let out a blood-curdling scream. Without waiting for him to react, Long Fei once again smashed the top of ancestors of Zhan's head from the sky, directly knocking his head out of the ground and into the ground, causing fresh blood to spurt all over. The gash on his head also instantly disappeared with 2 swishes. The system beep rang. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing ancestors of Zhan's for obtaining 2 billion experience, 10 million holy source, and 10 energy values. Congratulations to the player Long Fei for obtaining the Heavenly Bone Sacrifice. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 9 Underworld Battle Blood. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 1-star Godhood. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining. A series of notifications sounded. Hi! The surrounding people were all dumbfounded. Why? Long Fei did not escape? Why did he suddenly attack? Why did he possess the power to kill divine-level powerhouse? Everyone was dumbfounded. They thought that Long Fei would escape, but no. Long Fei lightly hooked his finger, stared at the war tiger, and smiled. Next. It was incomparably domineering. It was incomparably savage, so wild that it was a complete mess. Divine, they are killing your powerhouse S. Ah. Another master rushed out, releasing a roar. With a flip of his right hand, a gigantic hammer appeared in the air, flying straight towards Long Fei's head. I will kill you. The 9 of them were like 9 brothers. The death of any one of them was a huge blow to them. They had been together for so many years and grew up together. But now, they had all died one after another, their hearts filled with rage and killing intent. All they wanted was to kill Long Fei. In that instant, Long Fei smirked. I was just afraid that you wouldn't come. Boom! Long Fei moved his body and pulled out a strand of hair. His real face turned into a small moth and flew straight into the air. Boom! The Zhan's elder released all the god power in his body and smashed down with his hammer. Incomparable power. Long Fei's fake body also instantly crumbled apart, turning into a strand of hair that floated down from the sky. Dead. That's not right. That's not right. War Tiger frowned as she felt the energy fluctuation in the sky. Above it, 6th brother is above it. Too late. Long Fei moved, the golden cudgel in his hand smashed down, and laughed. It's too slow. Boom! Another violent strike smashed Master to the ground, causing the ground to crack and his body to be nailed to the ground. Long Fei descended and fiercely smashed down onto the top of his head. At the same time, he coldly laughed. Next. Chapter 16:13. This old man's Yin Huang ancestor. Chapter 16:13. This old man's Yin Huang ancestor rumble. A loud sound echoed out. A crack line extended for thousands of meters before the ancestors of Zhan's was smashed into the ground, causing blood to spurt all over the ground. Long Fei smiled slightly and said, Just bury him directly in the ground. Save it the trouble of burying him. Ha! The faces of the surrounding Zhan clan disciples turned ugly. 439 secret warrior family S to be slaughtered consecutively. Was this still a war house? Just how strong was Long Fei? Would he be able to withstand it? Everyone felt a chill in their hearts. The strength that Long Fei had displayed was just too terrifying. He couldn't withstand it at all. Zhan Tianter frowned tightly and said in a low voice, Master, Do you want Wushuang to come back? After all, he has obtained the power of our ancestor. He can definitely. Not waiting for him to finish, the war tiger shouted, "No need. If I can't even handle a mere Long Fei, I'm not fit to be the master of a war family, and based on that, I don't deserve to live in this world." Anger. It burned crazily in the Wartager's mind. He could only watch as his brothers died one by one. He had never experienced pain like this before, and it was extremely painful. The war tiger stared at Long Fei and said, "Brat, I have to say, your strength is unexpected. You made me angry, so you will definitely die." Long Fei looked at the transformation time. He was a little nervous. There were only 20 seconds left. Immediately, Long Fei laughed. "Old trash, don't dilly-dally. Come at me together. That would save you more time." I don't want to talk to him. As long as the 5 of them were not acting in concert, Long Fei would be able to handle it. Furthermore, Long Fei had not completely grasped the power of this transformation. "Kid, stop being so arrogant," the war tiger roared. The 4 Master S beside him rushed out at the same time, instantly landing in Long Fei's 4 directions. "Kill!" The 4 of them attacked at the same time. Long Fei pulled out a few hairs on his body. Change. Multiple clones materialized. In that moment, Long Fei did not expect that the war tiger would suddenly disappear, and he could not sense his chi at all. War Tiger S were the strongest of the 9 Great Master, and were extremely close to a 2-star expert. His aura was something that Long Fei's current cultivation could not sense. Boom, boom, boom. The 4 of them hacked down at the same time, their 4 hairs standing on end. Long Fei did not immediately reveal his real face. Instead, he turned into a small worm and hid himself. "Long Fei, come out and die." "You dog, aren't you arrogant? Come out here and die. Get out here to die." Long Fei remained unmoved. He was waiting. He had to find the location of the war tiger for him to be able to move. However, time was too precious for him now. The transformation time was running out bit by bit. 10 seconds, 9 seconds, 5 seconds. If this continued, he would recover his real face's appearance once the time to transform. At that time, things might not be easy. There are only 3 seconds left. Seeing that there were only 3 seconds left, Long Fei could not wait any longer. In that instant, Long Fei's figure moved. The burning golden cudgel fiercely smashed down towards the head of a master. And at that moment, the war tiger suddenly rushed out from the void and growled out, "Long Fei die." One palm, a golden light. It was as if the scorching sun was in his hands. An incomparably hot energy instantly rushed into Long Fei's mind. In his sea of consciousness, he sensed an incomparably strong energy aura, and the blood on top of Long Fei's had practically bottomed out in an instant. Resurrection ring, open. Ding! The resurrection ring has been opened. All right. Long Fei knew that he would not be able to withstand the palm of the war tiger, so he threw caution to the wind, and the golden cudgel in his hands exploded at the last second of the transformation time. Rumble! The power from the golden cudgel cut through the air, directly slicing ancestors of Zhan's in half. Explode. Rumble. Once his health fell, he would be instantly killed. The war tiger roared like thunder. Die! Burning heaven flames poured into Long Fei's body. Boom! The amount of blood on top of Long Fei's head also instantly bottomed out, and he died with a single palm strike. His body fell to the ground. Third brother. A few ancestors of Zhan's S surrounded the master that was split into 2 halves by Long Fei, blood flowing all over the ground. The war tiger looked at Long Fei's corpse and felt that it was a little strange. My burning heaven fire carried the destructive element, but why is his body not damaged in the slightest? Under that one palm, he was certain that Long Fei was dead for sure. Moreover, Long Fei did not have any defense. Normally, if Long Fei died, he would definitely die. Not only would he die, his body would also not be smashed into smithereens. However, Long Fei's body was not damaged in the slightest. This confused the war tiger. He did not think much about it, since Long Fei was already dead. The Zhan clan disciples cheered. He's finally dead. Ha ha! To challenge the master, you are courting death. The mighty master. Master's awesome. Long Fei's heart had also relaxed slightly. The Zhan clan was severely injured by Long Fei. 5 Master S fell, and 9 Divine level Powerhouse S fell. He had to admit that Long Fei was very strong, injured by the Zhan clan's vital energy. However, as long as Zhan Wushuang was not affected, these injuries were not a problem. Zhan Wushuang condensed his divine spark, flew to the ancient holy battlefield, and recovered all of the Zhan clan's former glory. When Zhan Wushuang gained his footing in the ancient holy battlefield, that would be when Zhan clan returned to the divinity. Right now, Zhan Wushuang was the core of the Zhan clan. As long as Zhan Wushuang did not die, it did not matter. Boom, boom, rumble. A few deafening noises resounded outside Zhan family's valley. A roar. Long Fei. Buzz. A figure heavily fell down, instantly landing in front of the war tiger. Looking at Long Fei, who had collapsed on the ground, the space between his eyebrows tightened. You guys killed him? The wardiger's expression turned cold. Who are you? The old man standing in front of him had an extremely dense aura, so much so that, not inferior to him, it was hard to imagine. Does Chaos Realm have such a powerhouse? It was also at this time. A disciple hurriedly ran into the valley and said, Clan leader, something bad has happened. Zhan Tiantu's eyes turned sinister. He asked softly, What is it? Long Fei had already dealt with it, so anything was not a problem. That disciple's face was pale as he said, We, our Zhan clan valley has been surrounded. Zhan Tiantu's face darkened. He snorted and said, Who dares to go against my Zhan clan in Chaos Realm? Are you courting death? The old man standing in front of the war tiger said solemnly, It's this old man. The war tiger asked again, Who are you? The elder's cold voice rang out. This old man's Yin Huang ancestor. Chapter 16:14, Resurrection. Chapter 16:14, Resurrection. As soon as his voice faded, the sky shook, and a dense special aura exploded in Zhan Clan Valley. At this moment, boom, boom, they had all arrived at the Sky-less sect that was created by the Yin Huang ancestor. They were all part of the demon race, and they were all giant demons, so they were all extremely powerful. In addition, quite a few had deity-level cultivation. If they wanted to compete in 9 Secret Warrior Family S, they were not weak at all. This was the power that the Yin Huang ancestor created for Long Fei. He had always been waiting for Long Fei to unite the Chaos Realm, and then he would pass this power to him so that he could enter the ancient holy battlefield to compete for hegemony. Seeing Long Fei on the ground, his heart felt a faint stabbing pain. Long Fei had saved him before. It was Long Fei who allowed him to return to the Chaos Realm. It was Long Fei who gave him a new life, but now, Long Fei is dead. The anger in his heart was burning crazily. The Zhan clan disciples looked at the powerhouse that were everywhere, and many of them were trembling in fear. Surround Zhan family? This was something that had never occurred to the members of the Zhan clan before. How powerful was Zhan clan? How dare they surround Zhan clan? Zhan Tiana frowned. You better figure out where this is and who broke through the tower question of God, and then you better figure out everything. At Zhan family, it was incomparably powerful. Who would dare be rash? The war tiger also shouted slightly. Yin Huang ancestor? I've never heard of it. For Yin Huang ancestor, let alone war tiger, there were not even any people in the entire Chaos Realm that knew about him. This was because the Yin Huang ancestor was completely different from them in this era. You've never heard of it, because when I was hanging around in Chaos Realm, your Zhan clan didn't even exist. Yin Huang ancestor's eyes revealed a sharp killing intent. Long Fei's death had made him angry. The wardiger's heart sank and said, Impossible. Battle family has existed in the Chaos Realm for millions of years. If you had existed at that time, your lifespan would not have lasted until now. I don't care who you are, and I don't care what relationship you have with Long Fei, but one thing I ask you to understand. The war tiger said solemnly, This is the 9 Secret Warrior Family. The 3 words, 9 Secret Warrior Family, were particularly emphasized. 9 Secret Warrior Family could crush any power. However, the Yin Huang ancestor laughed coldly and said, I don't care what kind of T9 Secret Warrior family you are, or what kind of family you are from. If you kill Long Fei, then you will die. Everyone must die. Anger soared. As soon as his voice fell, the disciples on both sides of the valley shouted in unison. A huge wave of killing intent rolled over as it came crushing down on them. At this moment, they instantly rushed down the valley as well. The Wardiger's eyes staring straight at Yin Huang ancestor. Do you really want to fight? Yin Huang ancestor said. This old man will never stop until we kill your entire Zhang clan. Boom! The power of the Yin Huang ancestor burst out, his aura spreading for thousands of kilometers. In that moment, the pressure on his body suddenly dropped. Rumble! The entire Zhang clan valley started to shake. Other than the War Tiger, everyone else in the Zhang clan were crushed. Their faces were pale and filled with pain. Even the ancestors of Zhang Zes were the same. He had been crushed to the point that he couldn't even breathe. Extremely uncomfortable. The expression on the Wardiger's face secretly changed. He never thought that there would actually be such a powerful person in the Chaos Realm, and it was something he had never heard of before. They were completely shocked. However, this did not mean that he would be afraid. The Wardiger's chi also followed his movements and burst out, blocking the attack heavily. At this moment, a system notification rang out. Ding! 100 layers of energy filled up. Cough, cough. Long Fei coughed and got up from the ground, saying, Ancestor, you came really slowly. Chapter 16:15, Special Items, Myriad Spirit Set. Chapter 16:15, Special Items, Myriad Spirit Set suddenly. Long Fei then crawled up from the ground. Everyone was scared silly. Even the Yin Huang ancestor was a little dazed. He immediately laughed as he looked at Long Fei, who was about to stand up. Good kid. I knew your life wouldn't be so easy to kill. Very excited. Yin Huang ancestor relaxed all of a sudden. Now that Long Fei was alive, there was no need to be so anxious. Yin Huang ancestor raised his hand, and all the powerhouse S on the 2 sides of the valley stopped. Yin Huang ancestor slightly shouted, Call me young master. Everyone looked at Long Fei, and then shouted at the same time, Young master. His voice was deafening. It spread out for 1,000 kilometers. Its aura was incomparably majestic and domineering. Awesome to the point of being a complete mess. Long Fei grinned. Yin Huang ancestor laughed. Kid, how's your show? Isn't that cool enough? It was more than just showing off. It was like a cow running in the rain. Long Fei said, Ancestor, you are awesome. Ha ha. The 2 of them laughed at the same time. However, the disciples of the Zhang clan, those from the Master S, Zhang Tiantu, and the War Tiger all had ugly expressions, especially the War Tiger. He stared at Long Fei and shook his head. It's not dead yet. Impossible, absolutely impossible. No one can survive under my burning heaven blaze. I clearly felt that he died, but why did he suddenly come back to life? Is he a ghost? Is he even human? He clearly died. Why did he suddenly come back to life? They were all stupefied. The existence of Resurrection Ring was itself a bug for this world. A lot of the things that Long Fei possessed were things that had never before appeared in this world. Resurrection Ring, Paralyzed Ring, Protective Ring. They were all special existences. However, the Resurrection Ring now only had one last chance to revive. Once it was used up, it would be gone, unless it could repair its durability. However, in this world, Long Fei had yet to find a place to repair the endurance of Resurrection Ring. The moment the Resurrection Ring was activated, Long Fei immediately came to life, but he did not immediately crawl back up. Instead, he held his breath and feigned death. In that case, playing dead was his only option. During this process, he crazily used ancient spiritual artifact to replenish the golden cudgel's energy. When Yin Huang ancestor arrived, Long Fei was ecstatic. At that time, The energy was not completely filled, and he was still quietly filling up. The golden cudgel's energy filled up to the 100th floor. There was no cooldown. As long as the energy reached 100 layers, it could be released. A duel. Long Fei was not afraid of the war tiger at all. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "You're very surprised, right? Ha ha ha. Everyone says that your Zhang clan is a bunch of trash. Kill me. Do you think you're qualified? Hurry and call Zhang Wushuang back. You can't stop me." With the Yin Huang ancestor here, the battle families were tightly surrounded, and now Long Fei did not need to be afraid of anything. His current goal was to lure Zhang Wushuang back. Let the 8 King Kong save Xinyuan Lier. This was Long Fei's plan. As long as Zhang Wushuang left the fairyland of Tower Question of God, then Long Fei would make it so that he would never be able to return. Zhang Tiantu's eyes turned sinister as he stared at Long Fei. "Humph. There is no need for Wushuang to come out and deal with you." "Oh," Long Fei sneered, looked at Yin Huang Ancestor and said, "Ancestor, these people are looking down on you." Yin Huang Ancestor smiled, his fingers moved slightly, and he said one word coldly, "Kill." "Wait." The war tiger bellowed, stared at Long Fei, and said, "Long Fei, what exactly do you want?" 5 ancestors of Zhang's had fallen. There were only 4 people left. Long Fei was far too bizarre to think that he could actually survive under his burning heaven blaze. He was very strong, so the war tiger had no choice but to admit this. He wasn't sure. As ancestors of Zhang's, he had to consider the situation for the Zhang clan. Long Fei smiled slightly and said, "What I want is very simple. Your Zhang clan members are all dead." The wartager's face sank and said faintly, "Long Fei, you're very strong, but if you really want to fight to the death with us, that doesn't mean you'll be any better off. It's not a good thing for anyone to lose. Go ahead. As long as it's something my Zhang clan can do, I will do my best to satisfy you." Endure was the key at this time. The war tiger was waiting. When Zhang Wushuang condenses his divine spark and activates the strongest power of the main artifact, the battle family would become the absolute hegemons of the Chaos Realm. There would be no need to hold back. Today's grudge would be repaid tenfold. Whatever he could sacrifice now, he would sacrifice. Long Fei laughed and said, "Your Zhang clan will give in, if that's the case. All right, I'll give you a chance. Hand over your head first." Long Fei laughed. He was not anxious. He wanted to lure Zhang Wushuang out. He believed it. Zhang Wushuang definitely paid close attention to the Zhang clan. He definitely knew what kind of situation the Zhang clan was in right now. Zhang Tiantu roared angrily, "Brat, don't be too arrogant." Long Fei sneered and said, "You've hit the mark. This old man is such a wild and rampant person. What can you do about it?" "Unhappy. Let's fight." Zhang Tiantu clenched his fists tightly, and his joints started cracking. The war tiger also said in a heavy voice, "Long Fei, fighting will not benefit either you or me." Finished. With a flip of his right hand, the war tiger declared, "Ancient Thousand Spirit Cauldron, Myriad Spirit Sword, Myriad Spirit Armor, Myriad Spirit Purple Gold Boots." He took out an ancient Myriad Spirit set from his space ring, which was something that his Zhang clan found in a mysterious secret world. So far, they didn't know what the use of these things was. However, their appearance was very powerful, and their entire bodies flickered with a purple golden light. One could tell with a single glance that they were no ordinary goods. Indeed, they couldn't develop it, and they didn't even know the level of the Myriad Spirit set, but Long Fei could immediately tell that these Myriad Spirit sets were powerful to the point of being a complete mess. Good stuff. Long Fei's mind tightened. All of these things had a yellow exclamation mark floating on them. What did this mean? This meant that every piece of equipment had a quest, and that there was a huge secret hidden within them. Especially the ancient Thousand Spirit Cauldron, which had a golden exclamation mark. It definitely had an incomparable power. However, these things were not holy artifacts, especially special items. This was what attracted Long Fei. War Tiger only took out 4 pieces of Myriad Spear equipment. There should be more. It's a whole set. Long Fei smiled and said, "Is that all? What about the beggars?" The war tiger said indifferently, "Then what else do you want?" Long Fei's gaze turned sinister, and he laughed sinisterly. "I'll take your life." In that instant, Yin Huang ancestor shouted, "Do it! Kill them all!" Chapter 16:16 Source. Chapter 16:16 Source. Are you crazy? Do you think our Zhang clan is really afraid of you? The war tiger kept its things. Its eyes were filled with anger, staring straight at Long Fei with killing intent. He was not afraid of Long Fei. He was just worried that the Zhang clan would suffer a great loss in strength. Things that could be solved with holy artifact were not even considered matters to him. At this moment, following Yin Huang ancestor's order, the surrounding disciples of the Empyrean Terminus sect had already rushed down like a surging tide, their killing intent filling the air. Yin Huang ancestor protected Long Fei's body in case of a sneak attack by the ancestors of Zhan's. Long Fei grinned and said, "It doesn't matter if you're afraid of me or not. Today, I will annihilate your entire Zhan clan. Do you know why? Because you've offended me." As soon as he finished, Long Fei's forehead turned sinister, and the idea moved. Transform. Shua. The 100 layers of energy activated, and a powerful force from the golden cudgel poured into Long Fei's body, instantly becoming Sun Wukong. He pointed at the wardiger's face and smiled. "Boss, today, I will kill you." The ancient myriad spirit said, "Must be hiding some secret." Moreover, the war tiger certainly did not take out all of its ancient myriad spirit set. Forcing it to take it out, they might as well take it out themselves. In any case, they were going to kill it. The wardiger's eyes moved, and the divine aura on its body, as well as its killing intent intertwined together, all of a sudden moved. Fast. It was too fast. The Yin Huang ancestor's gaze trembled as he said, "Long Fei, be careful." Not waiting for him to finish, Long Fei had already rushed forward to face him head-on and roared out, "Earlier, you ambushed me, and now I'm going to kill you." He wasn't afraid in the slightest. Face to face, there was an explosion in the sky. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Countless golden lights flashed, as if the sky was splitting apart. The two streams of light bounced away, and then clashed against each other in an instant. Rumble. A huge explosion shook the sky. The entire Zhan clan valley was enveloped by the thunderous sound. Powerful energy surged out in all directions, causing many people to tremble in fear. The Yin Huang ancestor looked at the sky and smiled slightly. "Good boy. The cultivation of the semi-realistic realm has already surpassed the cultivation level of the one-star Godhead powerhouse. It looks like you're ready." "Ha! I'm really looking forward to it." Yin Huang ancestor was very excited. From the god's martial continent's point of view, he watched Long Fei walk towards the peak step by step. In just a few years, had reached the peak once again. Too strong. Yin Huang ancestor could not find any other word to describe Long Fei. The feeling Long Fei gave him was that he would definitely be placed within the main temple. It was even above main temple. Rumble. Another collision, a loud sound. Two streaks of light shot out. Long Fei rubbed the bridge of his nose, feeling very unhappy. He muttered in his heart, "How can I fully unleash the power of the second stage?" Until now, Long Fei was unable to release all of his power. It wasn't that he didn't want to. Instead, it was because he couldn't do it. He always felt that he was missing something. He was unable to unleash all of the Sun Wukong's power. So the power of the second stage was definitely stronger than the main guns. However, although the main gun could kill instantly, he was still unable to crush the war tiger. This made him unhappy. What should I do? How can I fully unleash the power of the second stage? Long Fei asked himself in his heart as he continued to ponder over this question. Again, Long Fei shouted, "Shua." His body moved like lightning as the golden cudgel in his hand smashed down fiercely. Rumble. The sword in the wardiger's hand pierced forward. Weapons intersected. Flames filled the sky. Immense energy erupted like a volcanic eruption in all directions. As long as these energy ripples hit a person, they would be instantly killed and vaporized in an instant. The wardager's heart sunk. Her heart was shocked. What kind of power is this kid training? Why is it not God power, but instead doesn't lose it? Zhang Xian felt unconvinced. He was a powerhouse at the peak of the one-star godhood and had condensed his divine spark for hundreds of years. He did not believe that someone in the chaos realm would be his match, even if they were the newly emerged Yanhuang ancestor. The war tiger roared, and then once again crazily rushed forward. One step into the sky. In the sky, tens of thousands of phantoms appeared. The sky and earth were filled with wardager's silhouettes, each of them looking like their true forms. Absolutely. A sword struck out. The sky darkened and streams of power rushed towards Long Fei, just like the scythes of the god of death. It was incomparably sharp. Long Fei raised his eyes slightly, and the golden cudgel in his hand shook. Rumble! The ground cracked. Long Fei shouted in a deep voice and said, "I don't believe that I won't be able to kill you." Anger burned in his heart. The idea swam across his entire body. Long Fei asked himself once again, "Monkey, how can I unleash all of your power? Tell me." No response. Long Fei had not even used 1/10,000th of the second stage of strength. The main gun could kill people instantly. The second stage of the transformation should be more powerful enough to instantly kill any human, and that was the main artifact. However, Long Fei couldn't find the power to instantly kill them. What was it? How could he unleash his full strength? Monkey did not say anything because Long Fei was a monkey now. The system did not respond either. The system could not tell him all this because the system was only there to assist him. Everything depended on Long Fei. Long Fei's forehead was tightly locked. He looked at the 10,000 swords in the sky piercing towards him. What is it? What is it? Suddenly, at this moment, the sleeping beauty opened its eyes and lazily said, "Master, think about it. Where did your power come from? Go find a source." Source? Long Fei was shocked. Source? Source. Origin. Long Fei continuously read the two words. What's the source? The source is the dragon coffin. It's the power of the first stage. The source of the power of the sun, Wukong's transformation, is from the golden cudgel. The golden cudgel is the dragon coffin. It only transformed its form. Long Fei looked at the golden cudgel beside him. Suddenly, Long Fei's eyes flashed and said, "The power of the transformation comes from the golden cudgel, which means the power of the transformation comes from the golden cudgel." Long Fei gripped it tightly. Huff! Closing his eyes, his idea entered the golden cudgel. This was a special world. It was filled with endless power. This was a space of power. It could be said that this was not a golden cudgel. It was only a form of the main artifact. Strength. Explode. Long Fei arrived at the origin of the main artifact's power. At this moment, Yin Huang ancestor was slightly shocked. "Long Fei, what are you doing?" A few Zhan clan elders revealed an excited smile. "This brat must be scared silly." "Ha ha!" The war tiger laughed crazily. Die. Chapter 16-17, Mysterious World, Power of Origin. Chapter 16-17, Mysterious World, Power of Origin. Main artifact was not a single dragon coffin, main gun, nor was it a single golden cudgel, power of transformation. It was a very special existence. Because of it, the dragon race was being hunted down, and their entire race was on the verge of being exterminated. What was its source? The instant Long Fei's idea entered the golden cudgel, he felt a completely different world, an unimaginable world. Long Fei, Long Fei, Long Fei. One voice after another entered his mind. Suddenly, Long Fei suddenly came back. He immediately retracted his idea and stared. Seeing the 10,000 swords fall, his mind moved. That mysterious world, that world that came from the world, suddenly erupted with an extremely strong power. It was a divine power that did not belong to this world, nor did it belong to the great sage's power released from the sun Wukong. This was the origin force of the main artifact's mysterious world. Shua! Long Fei moved and swept his hand. Rumble! The 10,000 swords shattered in a fine powder that fell from the sky, scattering down bit by bit like falling stars. It was an incomparably beautiful scene. It was also at this moment. The Wardiger's body sank. Puff! He spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body exploded outwards, and a shocking damage value appeared above his head. 10 billion. 10 billion. On the other hand, the amount of blood on the Wardiger's head was only left with a little bit of skin. It was a fierce exchange of damage. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The war tiger pierced through a huge mountain and flew out for hundreds of kilometers in a straight line. Big brother, master. The Zhan clan valley suddenly became silent as everyone looked into the distance. The faces of the Zhan clan disciples all turned pale. Just now, what was that power? Yin Huang ancestor was also shocked as he muttered to himself. What power? He had also never seen such power before. Too powerful. He felt that he had surpassed the control of this world, surpassed the binding power of all the laws of the Chaos Realm, and was extremely terrifying. Long Fei was the same. He shouldn't be scared. In that instant, the 10,000 swords fell, and his ideas were pulled out from that mysterious world. They brought out a little bit, and a little bit, just a little bit, as thin as silk, actually caused such a huge injury. F***CK. This is too terrifying. Long Fei was overwhelmed with shock. He finally understood why the Dragon Clan was being hunted and even killed. This power was too terrifying. Just now, he only brought out a tiny bit of power. If all the power in the mysterious world was under his control, then this world. Long Fei didn't dare imagine. Looking at the golden cudgel in his hand, Long Fei wanted to enter the mysterious world again, but realized that he couldn't. What kind of power are you exactly? Just where did you come from? Long Fei's heart became incomparably curious. In another world, in an unknown world, a giant white pagoda hummed as it rose into the sky. Next, the entire world was in turmoil because of this. The source energy has been activated. Quickly go and search. No matter which plane he is in, he definitely has to find it for me. He definitely has to. An elder was extremely excited as he looked at the sky. His face flushed red as he said excitedly, "Is the awakening finally coming true? Ha ha! It's finally about to be awakened." Tens of thousands of streaks of light flew towards the sky. They all entered into various planes to search. Huff! Long Fei deeply exhaled and said with a heavy voice, "I still have a little more blood. Your father will blow you up." He took a step forward. Shwa! With one step, he flew to the location of the war tiger. At this moment, ancestors of Zhan's rose up from the ground and blocked Long Fei's path, and a big blade cut down from the sky. Long Fei died. Boom! Without waiting for the big blade to fall, Yin Huang ancestors' figure disappeared, and his palm struck the ancestors of Zhan's chest. Crack! Crack! His chest cracked, and his body suddenly split into pieces. Yin Huang ancestor grinned and said, "Brat, do whatever you want to do. No one has the qualifications to stop you." Long Fei smiled slightly and said, "Ancestor, I shall leave this to you." Shwa! Quickly teleporting out, they arrived at the Wardiger's landing point within 2 breaths of time. He still had a little bit of HP left, so he had to kill him first. Only by doing this would he be able to reveal the ancient myriad spirit set, as well as what was hidden within it. When Long Fei arrived, he casually killed dozens of Battle Family disciples. Berserk energy increased to rank 3. War Tiger, explode for me. Boom! Long Fei took a step forward, heavily landing on the ground. A powerful energy shockwave swept out from the ground, and the reaction of his idea also spread out. However, what shocked Long Fei the most was that there were no Wardiger's auras within a radius of 100 miles. The War Tiger was severely injured, so even if his cultivation was higher than Long Fei's at this point of time, it was impossible for him to conceal his own presence. However, right now, he could not feel even the slightest bit of the Wardiger's aura. Dead? Only the dead had no breath. That's not right. Long Fei's heart sank. The war tiger still has a little bit of HP. It's impossible for him to die so easily. It's absolutely impossible. He must have escaped. Rup, my big boss. How can you escape? Long Fei was enraged. He was extremely unhappy. Even the cooked duck flew away. This was too King stupid. War tiger, you're going to die. Long Fei roared. He was extremely unhappy. If he had taken advantage of the victory to give chase, the war tiger would not have been able to escape. CK. You coward, isn't the divine awesome? Flee your sister. No matter how Long Fei cursed, the war tiger did not make a single sound. Long Fei searched a few times, but still did not find any traces of war tiger. It was clear that he was no longer in this place. And then, Long Fei also did not stay any longer. He simply could not catch up to a one-star god. He believed that the war tiger would come out again in the future. Right now, Long Fei's goal was to attract Zhang Wushuang over. That was what was most important, and his purpose in coming here was also Zhang Wushuang. Shua. Long Fei instantly landed in Zhangjia Valley. At this moment, the entire Zhan clan's disciples and two Zhan's elderess were also crushed by the Yanhuang ancestor. The power of Long Fei's transformation disappeared as he walked in front of Zhan Tiantu and said, Clan Master Zhan, hurry up and call Zhan Wushuang over. I know you can send a sound transmission to him. Zhan Tiantu laughed coldly and said, Long Fei, do you think I would call him down? He can immediately enter the ancient holy battlefield, and he can immediately. Your sister. Long Fei slapped his face down and roared towards the sky. Zhan Wushuang, do you still want your father's life? If you don't want it, Long Fei revealed a murderous smile. In order to protect Xianyuan Lier, Long Fei did everything he could. Chapter 1618, War Tiger Mad. Chapter 1618, War Tiger Mad, Xianyuan Lier situation was extremely dangerous. Long Fei had no choice but to do so. Moreover, if the Zhan clan angered him, everyone would die. Zhan Tiantu's cheeks were red and swollen, and her eyes were bloodshot. She shouted, Long Fei, just you wait. Everything you have done to the Zhan clan today, Wushuang will definitely repay you tenfold, 100-fold, Long Fei laughed coldly. Then call him over. Let's see whether he will repay me or I will repay him. Long Fei was afraid that Zhan Wushuang would not come. Moreover, what was the situation with the Tower Question of God? Long Fei didn't even know how the 8 King Kong was doing. How is Xianyuan tribesman? Long Fei did not know about any of this. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The Tower Question of God released a loud noise as the power of the 8 King Kong directly destroyed the heavenly palace's door. The moment they entered the fairyland of Tower Question of God, Li Yuanba looked at the golden tower in the distance and asked, Is this tower the Tower Question of God? Nangong Yin said, That's right. That's the Tower Question of God. Xianyuan Lier should be at the top level. Zhan Wushuang should be waiting there. Xianyuan Xiong looked at the golden tower and shouted, Lier! Buzz! The sky shook. Golden shadows flew out from all directions. You bunch of ants! You dare to behave so atrociously in the Tower Question of God? Someone come. Kill them all. The S of the Law Enforcement Hall, the Golden Guard Group, and the Tower Question of God all flew out in unison and surrounded 8 King Kong and the others. Humph! You look so high and mighty. When our Xianyuan nationality was born, we didn't have trash like you, nor did we have the so-called Tower Question of God. The few elders from the Xianyuan nationality's elders' pavilion shone with a bright light as a strong power gushed out. Xianyuan Xiong looked at Li Yuanba and said, Yuanba, the Tower Question of God only has one way to go up, and that is to go all the way there, you guys. Li Yuanba looked at the Golden God's tower and said, All right, King Kong, listen up. Enter the tower. Only by entering the Tower Question of God could one rush up layer by layer. Otherwise, there was no other way. It was impossible to destroy the Tower Question of God, unless they possessed a power that was above this world. Xianyuan Xiong shouted, Xianyuan tribesman, clear the way. Kill. A great battle was about to begin. The 100th floor. Zhan Wushuang laughed coldly, looked at the distant Xianyuan tribesman that was the size of an ant, and said, "A bunch of useless trash." The Tower Lord of the Tower Question of God was also enraged. "You dare to kill a Tower Question of God? How preposterous!" And then, the Tower Question of God Tower Master turned into a ball of light and charged out. Zhan Wushuang did not mind. He looked at Xianyuan Li'er and smiled. "Li'er, it seems like your clansmen have come to save you." When Xianyuan Li'er heard her father's voice, her eyes slightly opened, and she said, "Elder, my challenge has begun." The Saint Presbyter on the 100th floor stood up and said faintly, "Please." At the same time, a sound transmission sounded out in Zhan Wushuang's mind. "Young Master Wushuang, Zhan Clan, War House, was surrounded by Long Fei. Your father is currently at the brink of death." What? Zhan Wushuang's gaze tensed up. He never thought that Long Fei would actually dare to touch his family. The anger in his heart burst out in an instant. At this moment, another sound transmission entered into Zhan Wushuang's mind. "Wushuang, don't go back to Zhan Clan. Your priority right now is to wait for Xianyuan Li'er to break through the God's Tower. Remember, you only have one chance. Even if all the Zhan Clan members die, as long as you are alive, the Zhan Clan will have the chance to rise again." Zhan Wushuang's heart was moved. "Great Master." The voice of the War Tiger. "Weak." The War Tiger said, "Don't go back. I will still be at Zhan Clan. I will take care of Long Fei." At this moment, in the 9 secret borders, the Wardager's huge aura surged out, enveloping the huge dragon tomb, and growled out, "Spirit, body, fitted soul, open." Buzz. A loud sound echoed out. The dragon tomb began to tremble. The Wardager's left hand moved, and with a glance, it swept past the spirit bodies floating in the 9 secret borders, and said with a heavy voice, "Come over here too." Boom! An enormous suction force came from the center of his palm that sucked all of the spiritual warriors within. Hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. The Wardager's hair was scattered in a bun, and it was in an extremely sorry state. At this moment, he was like a madman. The fitted soul could only fuse one body, but he had absorbed all of the powerful dragons in the necropolis, as well as all of the spirit bodies in the 9 secret borders. There was only one goal: kill Long Fei. The War Tiger shouted in a deep voice, "Long Fei, I will definitely destroy you with my own hands. I will definitely kill you with my own hands. Ah, all of you enter my body." Boom, boom, boom. The power within the Wardager's body exploded outwards, resonating nonstop. Wave after wave of power exploded within his body. Those spiritual warriors wailed in pain. The War Tiger seemed to have gone berserk. Finally, boom! With a loud bang, the dragon's necropolis exploded. A super huge, extremely sinister dragon spirit flew out from the dragon's necropolis and let out a loud roar in the sky. The Wardager's hands quickly formed into a seal, and a drop of blood essence fell from the 9 secret borders. Buzz! The entire secret world flashed with a red light. The red light was covered with dense runes. The War Tiger looked at the roaring Long Ling and laughed coldly, saying, "You want to run? This old man will bet on the entire 9 secret borders. You won't be able to escape either. Enter my body." Buzz! The entire secret world was filled with runes, flickering with red light. Rune after rune turned into chains, continuously binding the dragon spirit. This was the first array that the ancestors of Zhan's had set up. It was to prevent the dragon spirit from escaping. It was also the strongest power that was left to the Zhan clan's descendants. The strongest fusion with the fitted soul technique. However, the consequence would be the destruction of the 9 secret borders. The War Tigress were almost killed by Long Fei with just one move. His flesh was almost destroyed, and now he was giving it his all. As long as he could kill Long Fei, it didn't matter if the 9 secret borders was destroyed or not. "Give it to me." Red light runes suddenly exploded. The dragon spirit that was struggling in the air slowly lost its power and was forcibly merged into the Wardager's body. Roar! The colossal dragon roared. The war tiger felt the immense power within the dragon's spirit. Its body changed bit by bit. Purple dragon scales appeared on its skin, and its body emitted dragon aura. Strength. Haha, powerful strength. Long Fei, let's see if you will die this time or not. The Wartager's eyes turned from a pitch-black color to a deep red, on the verge of going berserk. At this moment, Jean, Clan Valley, a violent vibration. Long Fei frowned. Could it be that there's still a big boss that hasn't come out? At the same time, a draconic roar came from deep underground. The colorful fairy dragon's eyes suddenly opened and said, "Dragon roar." Chapter 1619, Boss Upgrade. Chapter 1619, Boss Upgrade Roar. Roar. A series of sounds echoed in the air. The look on one of the ancestors of Jean's was aghast. The great senior brother, don't tell me. He fused with a monster in the dragon tomb. Long Fei sensed the chi around him and smiled. Dragon roar, looks like 9 secret warrior family does have a dragon soul. At the same time, Long Fei crazily channeled all his energy. Ding! Energy level, 69. Ding! Energy level, 70. Ding! He still wanted to test the power of the mysterious world. Rumble! A loud sound echoed out. The depths of the valley suddenly caved in, and an entire mountain caved in. Soon after, it erupted, sending rocks and stones flying everywhere. A gigantic body emerged from the depths of the valley. Boom! The Jean Clan Valley continued to crumble as the entire mountain range shook. At this moment, the incomparably dense spiritual energy of heaven and earth was instantly sucked out and absorbed into that figure. What kind of monster is this? Long Fei's gaze tensed up. Could this be the Jean Clan's strongest boss? The Wartager's escape just now had made Long Fei very unhappy. The ancient myriad spirit set had already flown away. If there was another fierce boss coming, Long Fei would definitely not miss it. Boom! A purple light exploded. A figure landed in front of Long Fei. Purple light boss. Long Fei's mind tensed up. He became excited, but when he saw the appearance of the war tiger, he became even more excited. Wow, it's you? However, why did you transform? Your purple armor is not bad, and your hair has turned purple. Not bad. You actually learned to transform. Long Fei was secretly surprised and muttered in his heart. I didn't think that even bosses could level up. He had leveled up. The current war tiger was completely different from the one just now. His aura had also become completely different. Yan Huang ancestor frowned and reminded Long Fei in a soft voice. Long Fei, be careful. This guy is different from before. The colorful fairy dragon said lightly. What he is wearing is not armor, but dragon scales. Purple dragon's dragon scales. Long Fei's heart sank as he asked. Divine dragon, are you sure? The skin was covered with dragon scales, which should be unique to the dragon race. War Tiger could not own a dragon blood vein. The colorful fairy dragon nodded. I'm sure he probably merged with the purple dragon's dragon spirit. We can't let him insult the dragon clan. Long Fei grinned and said, Understood. So you're just a piece of trash wearing a dragon skin. Ding! Energy level complete. Current energy level, 100 levels. A system notification rang out. Long Fei looked at the monster like War Tiger and lightly smiled. I didn't kill you just now. This daddy will definitely kill you. You, Long Fei. Dying. His voice had changed. It had become very low. His voice was filled with explosive power. As soon as he finished, the War Tiger took a step forward. Wong. A purple light flashed under his feet. The light was like waves that were slowly ejected. Long Fei grinned. In that instant, when the War Tiger figure disappeared, Long Fei frowned. Bam! Long Fei's throat was suddenly grabbed. The Wartager's figure appeared, and the purple energy instantly lifted him up to the sky, then smashed him down fiercely. Chapter 1620, Revealing Power. Chapter 1620, Revealing Power. Boom! Hurry up and make sure no one is able to react. Long Fei was the same. He couldn't react in time. The moment he was lifted up into the air, Long Fei's idea moved. It wanted to activate the Sun Wukong's power, but without waiting for him to awaken, he was smashed to the ground. The activation was interrupted. Puff. After spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood, Long Fei's back felt like it was about to split open. His entire body felt extremely uncomfortable. Ding. Red alert. Player's health point is too low. Please add. Ding. Red alert. Player's health point is too low. Please add. Ding. Red alert. Player's health point is too low. Please add. With just one move, he had killed Long Fei. Moreover, this was purely power, without any holy source power. This power was simply too strong. Long Fei, Yin Huang ancestor bellowed, the powerful energy in his body surging towards the war tiger. The war tiger raised its eyes slightly as its purple-red pupils widened. It shouted scram. Boom! He waved his right hand, sweeping it out. Shua! The power released by the Yin Huang ancestor was instantly crushed, and his body was also blocked by a large amount of power. He was continuously forced back by the huge force, and the blood underneath his chest was tumbling. At first, his cultivation was equal to the Wardagers. Now, they were not on the same level at all. He was not a match at all. Master, many trolls ran up. Yin Huang ancestor suppressed the blood stench in his throat and shouted, "Do it!" Boom! Several giant demon powerhouses charged towards the war tiger, releasing their strongest powers. You overestimate yourself. The Wardagers' eyes turned cold. Looking at the dying Long Fei, it revealed a cold and scornful smile. Now, I want all of you to die. Buzz! Wardager's eyes turned sinister. Purple light condensed in her palms, and she clasped her palms together. Burning heaven blaze. Burn! He opened his palms and abruptly released a powerful aura. The purple flames were like a raging fire snake, dancing furiously. The fire serpent giant demon that had just charged out turned into ashes in a flash and disappeared into thin air. Yin Huang ancestor's eyes darkened as he said, "Quickly retreat. Run." Those monsters reacted fairly quickly, but that violet serpent of fire was even faster. As long as they touched a tiny bit of their body, they would instantly disappear, and even their primal souls would be destroyed. Terrifying. In a split second, a large number of disciples of the Swordless School had died, and over 1,000 of them had turned into dozens of people. The war tiger laughed wildly in excitement. Ha! Ha! The purplish-red eyes were even more ferocious. His eyes darkened as he stared at Long Fei, who was lying on the ground, and said, "Long Fei, you must be crazy. You dare to provoke my Zhang clan. I want all 18 generations of your ancestors to be turned to ashes, ha! Ha ha!" The strength of the dragon spirit and several hundred spiritual warriors made him extremely excited. This feeling of crushing everything beneath his feet was simply too refreshing. Moreover, the mind of the war tiger, who had been severely injured by Long Fei in one move, was in chaos, and right now, it was on the verge of going berserk. There was no way to block it. With the power of the purple dragon, even a powerhouse with a 2-star divine spark wouldn't be his match. Long Fei was currently unable to release the power of the system. Thus, he was unable to transform at all. However, at any moment, Long Fei would never give up, even in a desperate situation. The idea sank. Long Fei stood in front of the colorful fairy dragon and said, "Shun Long, it's your turn, right? In addition, didn't I say that I would give you a present? Now it's time for me to show you. No one has to worry." Chapter 16:21 Power to Explosion. Chapter 16:21 Power to Explosion. The fusion of the dragon spirits had turned the war tiger into a monster. His strength, his cultivation, had received an unprecedented increase, and he had completely suppressed Long Fei's existence. Even the system's power was interrupted, unable to release it. Very strong. It had to be said that the Wardager's power was so strong that it seemed to explode. However, Long Fei did not give up. He would never give up. Facing the Wardager's domineering pressure, he still had other cards he had not used. The idea sank and said, "Colorful fairy dragon, it's time to show you the present I've given you." Buzz! The idea moved, taking the huge blade in the middle of the space ring. Colorful ancient blade, in front of the colorful fairy dragon. The blade was surrounded by a 7-colored halo. It was released with an unstoppable force, which was exclusive to colorful fairy dragoness, causing Long Fei to not be able to see its attributes. However, he was sure that the blade was very sharp. When the colorful fairy dragon saw this blade, her entire body was covered. Impossible, impossible, absolutely impossible, this blade. His expression became excited. His body trembled slightly as he looked at the blade, and he said in shock, "This blade is a divine weapon forged by our colorful fairy dragoness. It disappeared without a trace in the last battle. This is the biggest loss for our colorful fairy dragon. We spent tens of millions of years searching for it, but to no avail. How did you find it?" His expression became more and more agitated. Colorful ancient blade was the inheritance of the colorful fairy dragon race, and it meant that they were at the pinnacle. Moreover, this huge blade contained incomparable power. His strength was beyond imagination, because it was made from entire plane, the plane of the Arceus region. Long Fei said, "Let's not talk about this for now. Let's kill the war tiger first." The rainbow divine power shuddered as it immediately said, "Let me out." His heart was filled with gratitude. Not only did Long Fei let him see the hope of the Dragon Clan, he also helped the colorful fairy Dragon Clan achieve their long-cherished wish. He owed Long Fei, so he had to repay him. Long Fei grinned excitedly and laughed, then said, "Come." At this moment, the war tiger looked at the proud smile on Long Fei's face and said, "Smiling? You'll cry later, Long Fei, go to hell." Roar. The dragon cries from the war tiger-s were rampaging as their power crazily burst forth. At this moment, roar. An even more ferocious dragon roar sounded out, and a huge dragon with 7 colored glints in its eyes rushed out. Its huge body directly covered the sky. It was impossible to see it clearly. His body continued to roll in the air. Dragon. A huge dragon. It's a dragon. The Zhan clan disciples looked at the sky ferociously as their faces turned pale. The Yin Huang ancestor smiled. "Good boy, to think that you would actually find a dragon in the Chaos Realm." Slightly sensing the aura of the colorful fairy dragon, Yin Huang ancestor's heart sank. This fellow is many times stronger than the dragon ancestors of God's martial continent. Green dragon ancestor and colorful fairy dragon were on completely different levels. There was no comparison. In the Dragon Clan, the Azure Dragon was just a disciple of the Dragon Clan, an existence at the very edge. Colorful Fairy Dragon were different. His status was lofty, and his strength was incomparably powerful. His huge body crushed the entire Zhan Clan Valley, including the War Tiger. The Wardager's eyes turned sinister as it looked at the sky and laughed sinisterly. "You're right. It is indeed a giant dragon from the divinity. However, you have to die too." The Wardager's eyes turned, once again staring at Long Fei. A purple force smashed towards Long Fei. Kill Long Fei first, then deal with the colorful fairy dragon. Since Long Fei did not die, he was unhappy. However, his speed was fast, but the colorful fairy dragon's speed was even faster. When a huge sword landed on the dragon claw, the strength of his body drastically changed. Buzz! A loud explosion resounded. The Wardager's power was instantly crushed. It was as if the raging flames had turned into a small flame, and the power within it vanished in an instant. His palm strike on a Long Fei's body felt less powerful than scratching an itch. Although the power behind this palm strike had disappeared, Long Fei's heart still tightened. If this palm strike landed, he would die without a doubt. The system had issued a red alert. His health point was almost unable to hold out. "I didn't die." Long Fei laughed wildly and said, "War Tiger, your time is up." The wartager's forehead turned sinister. The dragons inside its body roared, and tens of thousands of spirits cried out in grief. The power in its body struggled madly, breaking the shackles of the colorful fairy dragon. But it was impossible. Long Fei stood up from the ground, his eyebrows moved, and said, "Divine dragon, let me do it. Fitted soul, merge." Shwa. The colorful fairy dragon's body instantly returned to Long Fei's body. The injuries on Long Fei's body were completely ignored, and he flipped with his right hand. The colorful ancient blade landed in his hands. He took a step forward. Boom! The ground began to crack, as though it was dying. The pressure was instantly retracted. The suppression of the wartager's power disappeared. Long Fei did not like it when people were releasing their pressure on him, nor did he like it when people were releasing their pressure. He looked at the war tiger coldly and said, "Come, let me blow you up." Shwa. He took a step forward. At this moment, the war tiger roared. Long Fei died. Powerful energy collided together, and the air emitted crackling sounds as it exploded, directly igniting into flames. Then, Long Fei's aura moved, combining the colorful fairy dragon's power with the colorful ancient blade's power, and cleaved down with one slash. Rumble! Rumble! It was as though heaven and earth were being split apart, and the entire primordial chaos itself was trembling. The blade chi that erupted from the colorful ancient blade extended out for millions of kilometers, like a colorful ray of light exploding out. A strike that was strong enough to explode. The entire Zhan Clan Valley was collapsing. The houses were in ruins, and the mountains were collapsing. The Zhan Clan disciple was so scared that he directly kneeled on the ground while shivering. He had never been this scared before. Even the fairyland of Tower Question of God, tens of millions of kilometers away, were trembling. This slash, everyone in the Chaos Realm saw it. Earth-shaking, indescribable. As for the war tiger, under this blade, his strength was like that of an ant being chopped into two halves. In front of this blade, he had no power to retaliate at all. The long gash on the top of his head was once again revealed. This time, it went directly to zero, instantly killing tens of billions of HP in an instant. At the same time, Long Fei also felt his scalp go numb. Just now, the damage that floated above the wartager's head had reached 999 million points. This blade was too awesome. Long Fei was extremely shocked. The idea moved. Release your striking attribute. Explode for me. Chapter 1622, Universal Soul. Chapter 1622, Universal Soul, the system sounded out. Long Fei's body faintly loosened as he let out a deep breath and silently said, "Come." Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Variant War Tiger for obtaining 1 billion experience, 100 million Holy Source points, and 10 energy values. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the Ancient Thousand Spirit Cauldron. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Ancient Myriad Spirit Armor. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the Ancient Myriad Spirit Bead. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Ancient Myriad Spirit Boots. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the Ancient Myriad Spirit Sword. A total of 18 sets. It could be said to be the most perfect set that Long Fei had dropped up till now. Other than that, the system continued to explode. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Dragon Soul. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 1,000 Spiritual Warriors S. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing War Tiger for obtaining a special reward from the system. The reward is Universal Soul. My God! When Long Fei heard the words Universal Soul, Long Fei's mind suddenly tensed up. Even the Sleeping Beauty suddenly woke up. Titan King's remnant soul also shook violently. The two of them were stunned. How can this be? It's impossible for the Universal Large World's presence to appear here. Master, what exactly is that power in your body? The Sleeping Beauty asked in shock. She was an omnipotent existence. She would not be shocked in any way, but now that it could be seen how awesome the universal soul reward from the system was. Long Fei grinned and did not answer. The universal soul. Ha ha. System, you are really awesome. Long Fei could not help it. Something that could shock the Sleeping Beauty to such an extent must be really powerful. And then, Long Fei did not check the secrets of the ancient myriad spirit set. Instead, he directly checked the properties of the universal soul. He looked at the wisps of white smoke within the space ring, which were like cotton candy. There was nothing out of the ordinary about it. Long Fei's idea also could not feel any energy at all, as if it was a useless thing. Then, Long Fei's idea moved. Item, universal soul attribute. Damage, attack, description, fusion item. They were all question marks, and there was no explanation at all. There was only a description of fused items. Long Fei was immediately annoyed and said, "What are those things? None of the attributes? Isn't Starbook awesome enough? Your universal soul can actually not see the slightest bit of it, your sister." How infuriating! Long Fei seemed to know how awesome the universal soul was. However, the system did not give him this chance. It was just a question mark. He could not see any attributes at all. Looking at the 4 words, fused items, Long Fei controlled his idea and said, "If I can't see your attributes, then I'll fuse you together first. I'll definitely see your attributes, right?" Immediately, the idea moved. Merge. Ding. Fusion failed. Ding. System notification. The universal soul cannot be fused into the body. F***CK. Long Fei immediately burst out with a vulgarity. If you say it's a fused item and it can't be fused into the body, then where can it be fused into the body? Huh? What the heck? How infuriating. Long Fei cursed in his heart. The universal soul is definitely a good thing, but with the good thing in your hand, you don't even know how to use it? The Sleeping Beauty said slightly, "Master, there are many different types of universal soul." The omniscient Sleeping Beauty spoke up. She knew more about universal soul than Long Fei. Huh? Long Fei was startled and immediately asked, "Then what kind of cultivation technique do I need to fuse it with? What kind of energy will erupt after the fusion is complete? Can you see the attributes of the universal soul?" The Sleeping Beauty shook her head and said, "I don't know either. Every single universal soul has its own intelligence, so it appearing here means that it is fated to be with you. It should be able to help you fuse a special and unique cultivation method. It will choose on its own. Master, you don't need to intervene too much. It will help you fuse the most perfect of cultivation techniques." Long Fei was shocked. He muttered a word in his heart. Intelligence. Being able to choose on one's own was very special. That's the same as having a mind of your own. Intelligent creatures. But he was just an aura. Yet he had thought? How amazing was this? Then, Long Fei thought about the game system in his mind again. You even leaked something from the universal large world. Where did you come from? Who created you? The striking system in his body did not appear out of thin air. It must have a creator. Who is this creator? Long Fei thought that maybe he could do it, but since the Star Book of the Titan King had revealed the universal soul, then the creator must be even stronger than what Long Fei had imagined. Huff, Long Fei thought. To Long Fei, the question of who the creator of the system was and where it came from was a question that he could not think through. This is too damaging to the brain. And then, Long Fei looked at other things again, especially the 18 ancient myriad spirit sets. These items all flashed with a yellow lament. Item, ancient 10,000 spirit cauldron attribute. Description, fusion items. Item, ancient myriad spirit armor attribute. Description, fusion items. The attributes of all 18 pieces of the primordial myriad spirit set were all the same. All of them were fusion items, and all of them were question marks. Are you F***ing messing with me? Isn't this too much? System, can we still have fun together? Long Fei felt extremely bitter in his heart. He was about to cry because of the 4 words. Is there a need to play with me like this? A fused item. But how can I fuse them? Fuse what? Is this also a fuse cultivation method? There was no clue. The system did not have any prompts, but the yellow exclamation mark on the myriad spirit set still existed, which meant that it had yet to be activated. Huff! Long Fei exhaled a long breath and said, Divine Dragon, now that the dragon soul is in your hands, you should fuse and recover your own strength. Now, Long Fei glanced at Jean Clan, who was in a mess. Jean Clan had already been annihilated. There was a possibility for them to rise again. There was still one more person that he had to kill. Jean Wushuang. Long Fei looked afar. Jean Wushuang. Wash your ass clean and wait for Lousy to explode. This time, you will definitely be blown up. Chapter 1623. Jean Wushuang attacks. Chapter 1623. Jean Wushuang attacks. Tower Question of God. No, no. Jean Wushuang felt the fall of the war tiger and felt the deaths of the Jean clan members one by one. Within the Tower Question of God, he roared crazily like a mad beast. Long Fei, I'll kill you, I'll definitely kill you. Anger was burning. It burned furiously. It was also at this time. The aura of the Saint Presbyter slightly receded as he silently retreated to the side, and with slightly closed eyes, he sat cross-legged. Challenge failed. Xinyuan Lier's blood was boiling in her chest. She could not withstand the sword strike just now, and this was with Saint Presbyter deliberately weakening her strength. Otherwise, she would have been severely injured. The saint in the 100 level was simply too strong. It was infinitely close to a divine-level powerhouse, and it was one that could undergo tribulation to condense a divine spark. Jean Wushuang looked at Xinyuan Lier, and then Idea said with sound transmission, Don't let her leave. In that instant, swish, Jean Wushuang rushed out of the god's tower, his body burning with red light, as if he had taken a drug of anger in a game. Killing intent invisibly filled the sky. The step landed. Rumble. Fairyland of Tower Question of God shook violently. Xinyuan Xiong trembled slightly. Jean Wushuang. Young Lord Wushuang is here. Greetings, young lord. Young lord. Right now, the entire Tower Question of God was already controlled by the Jean clan, and Jean Wushuang was their master. Jean Wushuang stared at Xinyuan Xiong with his gloomy eyes and asked coldly, Did Long Fei ask you to come? Xinyuan Xiong's gaze tightened and said, Jean Wushuang, return Lier to me. Jean Wushuang asked again, You told Long Fei to go to Jean clan, right? Xinyuan Xiong said once again, Hand Lier over to me. Jean Wushuang's eyes opened wide as he glared at Kong Kim and shouted, Your father is asking you a question. Is it that you wanted Long Fei to go to the Jean clan? Jean family's location was very hidden. Probably only the Xinyuan nationality knew the location of Jean family. Xinyuan Xiong let out a loud shout and said, So what? Yes, sir. Then you have to die. With that, Jean Wushuang disappeared. In that instant, the 9 grand elders of the Xinyuan nationality shouted at the same time, Be careful. The 9 players attacked at the same time, but too slow. They felt that Jean Wushuang's speed was incomparable and was of a completely different level. Even the grand elders of the Xinyuan nationality S were all powerhouse S of the blend FO Godhead, deity level. However, their speed, was not as fast as Jean Wushuang's. Boom! With a loud sound, Jean Wushuang struck out with his palm. Xinyuan Xiong was sent flying along with the 9 great elders. As his body fell on the ground, he rolled hundreds of meters away, and the 10 were simultaneously injured. Blood sprayed wildly. His power, too powerful. Xinyuan Xiong stared fixedly at Jean Wushuang, and his heart was overwhelmed with shock. Too powerful. This kind of power does not even belong to the Chaos Realm. Jean Wushuang. It is no longer the old Jean Wushuang, defeating 10 divine level powerhouse in one move. How strong was this? Everyone around was stunned, including 8 King Kong. This was the first time they had seen Jean Wushuang. They thought that Jean Wushuang was not that amazing, that he was not even comparable to their boss, Long Fei. The force of his outburst frightened them, especially the red divine light on his body. It was too strange, an unstoppable existence. The Tower Question of God Tower Master smiled slightly and said, "Not bad, not bad, not bad at all. To have such powerful strength before even entering the ancient holy battlefield to cultivate, you truly deserve to be called the #1 genius in the history of the Chaos Realm." He was very excited. Amongst everyone present, owner of Tower Question of God was probably the most excited. The more powerful Zhang Wushuang's performance was, the more powerful he would be when he enters ancient holy battlefield, and as long as he lived long enough, he would receive even more awards. Moreover, the important point, Zhang Wushuang had yet to undergo the heavenly tribulation to condense his divine spark to become a divine spark. But once he breaks through his shackles and condenses into a divine spark, his cultivation would be unstoppable. Owner of Tower Question of God secretly made up his mind when he saw Zhang Wushuang. No matter what price he had to pay, he had to protect Zhang Wushuang. Cough, cough, cough. Xianyuan Xiong spat out a large mouthful of fresh blood, his face pale white, and crawled up from the ground as he said, "Zhang Wushuang, return Li Er to me. He's not dead yet." Zhang Wushuang sneered and said, "Xianyuan Xiong, the Zhang clan gave you a choice, but you didn't treasure it. Since that's the case, then go and die." The anger of the destroyed Zhang clan burned in Zhang Wushuang's heart. The deaths of 9 masters. Father's fall. Zhang Wushuang only wanted to release all of his anger at the death of the Zhang clan members. He only wanted to kill all of the Xianyuan tribesmen. Shua. He took a step forward. A finger pierced towards the center of Xianyuan Xiong's brows. Too fast. It was so fast that Xianyuan Xiong couldn't react at all. At this moment, Chen Tianfei roared out, "Power of the divine armor, activate." Buzz. With a crisp sound, the defensive aura of the steel armor pubes in his body exploded completely, and he released the incomparably thick divine armor defense. Like a ball of meat, his body tumbled in front of Xianyuan Xiong, and with a heavy step, his body completely merged with the ground. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The earth was the armor. Earth defense. Chen Tianfei absorbed an endless amount of defensive power from the ground. The owner of Tower Question of God was slightly shocked. They say that the 8 King Kong Long Fei accepts is very special. I never thought that this holy armor King Kong could actually be used to release the earth defense. It is indeed extraordinary. Zhang Wushuang coldly smiled and said with extreme contempt, "You overestimate yourself." Boom! A loud sound echoed out. Space exploded. Chen Tianfei consecutively retreated backwards as the divine earth armor on his body crumbled in an instant. This was a power he had never endured before. It wasn't divine power at all. Chen Tianfei stomped his foot on the ground heavily, the blood in his throat stinging, and he couldn't help but spurt out a mouthful of blood as he roared out, "Come again. Humph! You're courting death." Zhang Wushuang sneered. His right hand made a grasping motion in the air, and streams of red energy surged. The aura of his strength was several times stronger than before. At this moment, Li Yuanba immediately decided and roared, "King Kong Alliance." Zhang Wushuang was too strong. None of the people in the 8 King Kong were his opponent, and going up one by one was just seeking death. Li Yuanba looked to be an idiot. However, but he was incomparably intelligent and decisive. In this situation, he immediately thought of the 8 King Kong's combined strength. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 8 King Kong's voice flew into the air. 8 places in the air. Zhang Wushuang slightly raised his eyes, sneered, and said, "King Kong Alliance, summoning heavenly tribulation? Humph! You want to use the heavenly tribulation to attack me? Do you think I'll give you a chance?" Zhang Wushuang leaped into the air, standing above the 8 King Kong. He sneered sinisterly, roared out, and said, "All of you must die." Chapter 1624. Li Yuanba's Forbidden Techniques. Chapter 16:24. Li Yuanba's Forbidden Techniques. As soon as he finished, the red light around Zhang Wushuang's body suddenly exploded. He did not know how strong the heavenly tribulation that 8 King Kong had summoned was, but he would not give him any chance. Whether or not it was a threat to him, he wouldn't even give the 8 King Kong any chance. With Zhang clan wiped out, he wanted to return it to Long Fei using the cruelest method. 8 King Kong must die. Zhang Wushuang was too fast. It would take some time to prepare for the joint activation of the 8 King Kong's powers and heavenly tribulation, but this little bit of time was enough for Zhang Wushuang to kill them all. The god's suffering force could not be summoned at all. At this moment, Li Yuanba's eyes turned sinister as he said, once again resolutely, "You guys get ready. I will hold him off." Boom! He had to buy time for the 8 King Kong's alliance. He was the head of the 8 King Kong. He had to protect these people. He changed his body, and the 3 heads and 6 arms. The golden corpse from the giant spirit coffin also merged into his body. The giant spirit axe swept out and roared out, "Zhang Wushuang, come!" His muscles exploded. Every muscle of his body was filled with the aura of endless divine power. The strength of the steel armor pubes allowed Li Yuanba's body to unleash its power to its fullest extent. At this moment, it was Li Yuanba's current peak strength. Inhale, inhale, exhale. With each breath, Li Yuanba allowed himself to breathe in and out. At the same time, a huge whirlpool formed in his energy domain. It was at least 10 kilometers in size. Owner of Tower Question of God's Expression changed again. Strength domain. Holy King Kong. Pure power. To actually be able to cultivate such a pure physical power to such a degree, it is truly unbelievable. 8 King Kong, 8 types of elemental energy. It's really hard to believe how they cultivated. Owner of Tower Question of God was speechless. Looking at Li Yuanba, whose strength was like a galaxy with 3 heads and 6 arms, he was extremely shocked. The power of the 8 King Kong once again surpassed what he knew. He had never seen such a domain of pure strength before. Not just him. The disciples of the Xianyuan tribesman S and Tower Question of God were also the same. All of them were dumbfounded. How did he cultivate it? In terms of cultivation, there was probably no one in this world who was more hardworking than them. Only they themselves knew how hard 8 King Kong worked. Every time they broke through, they would have to put in a lot of effort. Every time they increased their strength, they would have to pay a price that ordinary people could not bear. They were like madmen. They walked a different path from the others. The strength they trained in was also different. However, they knew clearly in their hearts that if they could not advance, then they would not be able to follow beside Long Fei and walk along with him. This was the motivation for them to become strong. Zhang Wushuang was startled. Seeing Li Yuanba, who was in the center of the energy whirlpool, laughed coldly. Strength domain? It's really special. However, didn't anyone tell you that pure power is the most trashy existence in this world? Chua. Zhang Wushuang moved. It's too fast. I can't see it at all. Vajra, be careful. The great elders of the Xianyuan nationality looked up into the sky. They could not see Zhang Wushuang's moving trajectory at all, and they could not even sense him. No one could stop him at this speed. However, at this moment, Li Yuanba's eyes were filled with anger. The giant spirit axe in his hands suddenly blocked. Buzz! The 2 powers clashed together, causing explosions in space. The ear-piercing sounds were unbearable. However, Zhang Wushuang's move was actually blocked by Li Yuanba. The power domain began to surge crazily. Li Yuanba's cultivation was also semi-realistic realm. His speed could not compare to Zhang Wushuang's, but he could not. He was at the center of the domain, and as long as any aura entered his domain, he would be able to sense it instantly. He could also react in an instant. This was the power domain. This was his strength. He blocked it. The King Kong blocked it. This reaction speed is too fast. The strength domain he cultivates is so strong. Many people in Xianyuan tribesman cheered. In that moment, their hearts almost rose to their throats. This kind of extreme reaction was enough to make people's hearts jump out of their chests. Owner of Tower Question of God also said slightly, "What a fast reaction speed." Zhang Wushuang laughed coldly, and his body suddenly disappeared. Shua. In less than a tenth of a second, Wong. A red light exploded. Zhang Wushuang's strength roared once again. The giant spirit axe in Li Yuanba's hand blocked again. Boom. He blocked again. However, his arms were faintly trembling, and he almost could not endure it. If not for the pubes exchanging places with him and stimulating his strength to the maximum, he would have already collapsed. He blocked it again. The King Kong blocked it again. So powerful. Xinyuan tribesman cheered again. Swish. Rumble. Zhang Wushuang struck down again. Li Yuanba blocked it again, but his reaction speed was not as fast as before, and at this time, Zhang Wushuang was still constantly increasing his speed and strength. Roar! Li Yuanba roared. Come again. His 6 arms shook. The divine force in his body surged out, trying hard to keep him in a calm state. You overestimate yourself. Watch how I defeat you. Zhang Wushuang's sneer sounded in the air, and then a red ray of light from the scorching sun descended. Bring it on, Zhang Wushuang bellowed. Descending from the sky, with a palm aimed at the top of Zhang Wushuang's head, he smashed downwards. Let me see how you can block me. Yuanba, be careful. King Kong. Everyone began to worry. Li Yuanba looked up, and then his finger pressed heavily onto a strange hole in his chest, and instantly, his entire body turned crimson. Just a piece of red-hot iron. The power field was set ablaze. Forbidden arts. Yuanba, you're crazy. Brother Yuanba. Yuanba, 7 King Kong seemed to have gone crazy as he shouted loudly. Just now, Li Yuanba's acupuncture points was a kind of forbidden strength technique and also the limit of a kind of body technique. Li Yuanba grinned and laughed foolishly. He withdrew the red light and shouted loudly. Resting gate. Open. Rumble. Like a flood, its power crazily surged into Li Yuanba's body, and at this moment, his body grew even larger. Without waiting for Zhang Wushuang to fall, Li Yuanba's body shot out like a rocket. The giant spirit axe in his hands started to burn. It was incomparably terrifying. The power of this forbidden art was too terrifying. Li Yuanba, slash down. I will kill you. Zhang Wushuang's gaze darkened as the anger in his heart roiled. You dog, you're courting death. The main artifact's power slightly moved. Chapter 1625, Shocking 100,000 Planes. Chapter 1625, Shocking 100,000 Planes continuously losing. The continuous attacks did not cause any harm to Li Yuanba, which made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Moreover, Li Yuanba, this simple-minded big guy, actually saved his strength. The door opened. Li Yuanba was completely different. The power in his body also completely changed. This was a forbidden technique that belonged solely to him. Pure strength, pure body strength, a strong body technique, a forbidden art. It had never been opened before. This was the first time, because this kind of power caused Zhang Wushuang to feel extremely uncomfortable. He had no choice but to release the power of a god's shield. Zhang Wushuang roared, God of Heaven's attack. Li Yuanba replied loudly. The power of the gate of healing cut. The two forces collided. The earth shook and the sky shook. All the living creatures within a radius of tens of millions of kilometers were trembling. The entire fairyland of Tower Question of God was trembling, and many parts of it were crumbling as they couldn't withstand the impact of these two powers. It was too hard to bear. Even the divinity, the ancient holy battlefield, and the superplane who was the ruler of 100,000 planes, could feel the impact of this power. Inside the main temple, the enormous sovereigns of eternal rest had looks of astonishment on their faces. This is the second wave. The first stage is the power of the dragon race, but this time, it is power that even we can't figure out. Just what happened in a mere low realm. Destiny God, can't you see that you control the fate of the 100,000 dimensions? Destiny God's expression changed slightly as he became somewhat angry. he said in a heavy voice, another one escaping the control of their fate. This person is clearly dead. Why is he still in this world? Who is it? Even the god of fate could not see it. Li Yuanba had already died once before, so for this kind of people who had died once, the god of fate would not be able to see it. Could it be the evil god's men? Impossible. The person controlled by the evil god is still unable to escape from my eye of samsara. The god of fate said affirmatively. Who could it be? The main temple's gods were also at a loss. They could ignore the eruption of the dragon race's power, because naturally, there would be people who would care about it. However, they, as the masters of 100,000 planes, did not know about it just now. He had never felt this kind of power before. It was as if this kind of power did not belong to this world. This caused them to feel extremely unhappy in their hearts. At the same time, he also felt a tinge of fear. What if this kind of power spreads? What if he enters the ancient holy battlefield? Maybe the situation will change. Then a sovereign said slowly. All of the sovereigns narrowed their eyes. They could not enter the ancient holy battlefield directly. They could only send people and could only create some geniuses to enter the ancient holy battlefield to maintain order, to protect their laws. If they really were to enter the ancient holy battlefield with a power that even they had never felt before, what would be the consequences? Destiny God's eyes turned sinister as he said lightly, even if he is a sprout, we have to kill him. Pull out 2 of them. The god smiled, and then one of the deities said, we haven't sensed the other type of energy before, but we are very familiar with the other type of energy. It seems to contain the power of a sovereign. Destiny God slightly said, Jean Clan, are you saying that there was once a god who appeared but fell in battle and was driven out of the divinity? Destiny God nodded his head. That's right, this little guy is the Jean Clan's #1 genius for the past tens of millions of years. His talent is even stronger than the fallen war god. It was also because of this that the main artifact was reborn along with him when the war patriarch, the god of war, had fallen. He was fused together with the god's shield, Sky Mountain. The power just now was released from the god's shield. It's just that his cultivation has not broken through to the divine level yet. If he breaks through the divine level and condenses a divine spark, his power will fuse more perfectly with the main artifact's power, and he will be able to unleash true power. However, this will depend on whether or not he'll succeed. Destiny God knew a lot of things. He was the one who controlled the fate of countless creatures, and he had paid special attention to Zhan Wushuang, because from the moment Zhan Wushuang was born, he had felt the main artifact's aura. More than 20 years had passed, and the main artifact's aura had grown stronger and stronger. Destiny God smiled slightly. Perhaps letting the Zhan clan deal with this strange power is a good choice. The God Realm warrior looked at Destiny God. Destiny God said, Zhan Wushuang is fighting against that surge of power. Since that's the case, let's give him some strength and let him kill it. It'll be much simpler that way. Haha, good idea. This power is still young and immature, and is not fully matured yet. Moreover, it is purely physical, and cannot give him the opportunity to rise to greatness. I have to kill him, the gods said in unison. Li Yuanba did not know of Main Temple's plan. In the fairyland of Tower Question of God, Li Yuanba's breathing was thick and his entire body was in extreme pain. That attack, just now, his strength was almost depleted. However, he still blocked Zhan Wushuang's main artifact's power. The 2 of them separated. Zhan Wushuang was furious. He never thought that his main artifact would be at the same level as Li Yuanba's forbidden technique. What the hell was this? Cluck, 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 cluck. Zhan Wushuang clenched his teeth, which made an explosive sound. The idea sank in his heart, and the red light on his body started to surge. Master! Zhan Wushuang roared in his heart. The god shield just now only used the power of the ancient spiritual artifact, but now he had to release the red light, divine force, he obtained from breaking through the god's tower. This was the power of the god's shield's evolution. Zhan Wushuang stared at Li Yuanba with a dark and gloomy gaze and said, "You dog this time. I will definitely turn you into ashes." Buzz, 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 buzz. The god's shield continued to buzz. At this moment, Li Yuanba's power was almost depleted. The release of the forbidden technique had too great of an impact on his body, so Li Yuanba was resisting it right now. He also did not expect that Zhan Wushuang would actually block his gate of healing opening power. Hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. His breathing became rapid, and he was no longer able to calm down. However, at this moment, the other 7 King Kong's had already joined forces. Sky's spirit shouted, "Brother Yuanba, you're the only one left." While Li Yuanba and Zhan Wushuang were fighting, the remaining 7 King Kong's did not stay idle. Li Yuanba gritted her teeth as she instantly landed in his position, the divine power in her body merging with the energy elements in the 8 King Kong. Arhut looked up at the sky and shouted heavily, "Come." Buzz. The instant 8 King Kong surged into the sky. Rumble. The 9 heavens whirlpool began to spin. On the edge of this spiral, the destiny god laughed coldly. "It just so happens that I can borrow your power to transfer to Zhan Wushuang. Isn't this fun? Haha." At the same time, on the other side, above the celestial mountain ranges True Eye. Shua. Long phase super teleportation activated. Looking at the sky that was starting to crack, Long Fei rushed in. Chapter 1626, Zhan Wushuang Can't Take It. Chapter 1626, Zhan Wushuang Can't Take It. Rumble. 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 In the 8 King Kong, the 8 elements condensed together and released into the sky. The clouds in the sky rotated, and layer after layer of clouds reached to the sky, just like 9-story heaven. At the center of the whirlpool, a bolt of lightning struck down. Earth-shaking, incomparable power. The entire chaos realm was enveloped in this thunderstorm. Terrifying. At this time, the heavenly tribulation that 8 King Kong summoned was completely different from the one in front of them. The current god's suffering force was unparalleled in size. Many of the fairyland of Tower Question of God S had pale faces, especially those divine level powerhouse S of the blend FO Godhead. They didn't dare look up at the sky, afraid that the god's suffering force would attack them, out of instinctive fear, because the god's suffering force was too strong. Owner of Tower Question of God was a person who had transcended heavenly tribulation, so he was very clear on the power of heavenly tribulation. As he looked at it, he felt a sense of dread in his heart, and the heavenly tribulation that 8 King Kong summoned was no weaker than the first half of the true heavenly tribulation. At this moment, Walala, a beam of light came crashing down. Zhan Wushuang slightly curled the corner of his mouth and said with a disdainful smile, "What does a mere heavenly tribulation count for?" He didn't care at all. Standing in the same place, he raised his head, looking at the sky, and laughed coldly. The idea moved. "Come." Buzz. A loud sound rang out, and a huge shield appeared on his arm. The only difference from before was that the light on the god's shield became red. Moreover, above the god's shield, a gigantic rune unique to Zhan family appeared. The shield moved. Buzz. When the red light exploded, a red halo that could be seen with the naked eye enveloped Zhan Wushuang like a magic shield. In that instant, the red light on the shield rushed up. He charged forward. What's that? What is that shield in his hand? What a powerful strength! The Xinyuan tribesman whispered to himself. The shield in Zhan Wushuang's hand was completely different. Xinyuan Xiong's gaze tightened and said faintly, "Could it be? That is the power passed down in the Zhan clan? That is, the authentic artifact that was reborn together with Zhan Wushuang? That's not right. Even authentic artifacts aren't as strong. The treasures left behind by the ancestors of Zhan's must be extremely powerful." Owner of Tower Question of God's gaze also became cold as he thought. Zhan Wushuang, is this the power you just obtained? How enviable. The two forces collided. At this moment, Zhan Wushuang laughed madly and said, "With just you, All of you go to hell. Boom. The red light on the shield burst out like an explosion of energy. The huge laser cannon shot out a beam of light, striking the shield heavily. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The 9 heavens trembled, and the earth trembled. The shock wave created by the power covered tens of millions of kilometers, and had actually managed to fend off the heavenly tribulation summoned by 8 King Kong. The two forces collided continuously. Everyone, even if he was a divine-level powerhouse, felt his heart tremble. This was too frightening. Li Yuanba clenched his teeth, and the idea sent a sound transmission to him. The power of a pubes. Huh. Understood. Buzz. Instantly, Li Yuanba activated his steel armor pubes power first, causing a loud, buzzing sound to ring out from his body, and his power fluctuated once again. Buzz. The steel armor pubes on the Holy Spirit body was activated. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A series of metal collisions caused a muffled explosion to sound. 8 King Kong's steel armor pubes had all been activated, so this pubes had a strong effect on their power explosion. Fire! Li Yuanba shouted. Boom! One after another, streams of primordial spirits surged into the 9 heavens. The formidable power was even more unbridled as it exploded outwards. Humph! Is this your strongest power? Too weak, huh? Zhan Wushuang let out a cold laugh, still not putting this power of heavenly tribulation in his eyes, because he currently did not feel any kind of pressure at all. The evolution of God's shield could completely block all attacks. However, in that instant, the God of Fate smiled and said, "Not bad, to be able to unleash the God's shield's power to the second realm. It seems you are truly special. You're a good chess piece. Then I'll give you some strength." In that instant, a strand of the God of Fate's power surged into the heavenly tribulation summoned by the 8 King Kong. At this moment, 8 King Kong's brows shook. They could clearly feel the influx of foreign energy, and they were all asking themselves, "What is that? What kind of power?" "Brother Yuanba, you aren't activating the forbidden technique again, right?" "It doesn't look like it," Li Yuanba said. "It's not my power. This power is stronger than all of us combined. Maybe someone is helping us." "All right, then kill him in one breath." 8 King Kong did not know what the special power of heavenly tribulation was. They only knew that their strength had increased. Immediately, a heavy blow came down. Rumble, rumble. The god's shield shone with a golden light as sparks flew everywhere. Suddenly, Zhan Wushuang's face changed. "What's going on?" His strength suddenly increased by countless times, and the power released from his god's shield began to tremble. "I can't block it. What's going on?" The red light continued to press down, and the power of heavenly tribulation continued to attack. Young Master Wushuang. Crap. The tower question of God Tower Master's face sank. Zhan Wushuang can't take it anymore. Xianyuan tribe's man was excited. 8 King Kong also became incomparably excited. Haha! They were even more certain that this special force was here to help them. The stronger power of the 8 King Kong was released. Boom! Boom! Layers and layers of attacks came crashing down. Zhan Wushuang's expression was sinister, his eyes bloodshot as he crazily roared. Ah! Ah! The god's shield S on his arm began to rapidly tremble. Rumble! The red shield that was wrapped around Zhan Wushuang was crushed into powder. Buzz! The god's suffering force crashed vertically into the space between Zhan Wushuang's eyebrows. Zhan Wushuang, let's see if you die or not. You want to steal a woman from our boss? Can't I kill you? Arrogant. No matter how arrogant he is, huh? 8 King Kong became excited. This power was too strong. Zhan Wushuang was definitely going to die. 8 King Kong's heart also relaxed slightly. As he looked at the center of the vortex above the 9th heaven, he felt a gigantic figure. Who is it? Li Yuanba's heart tensed up. Chapter 16:27, Power of Destiny. Chapter 16:27, Power of Destiny. It just didn't feel right. The feeling grew stronger and stronger. Who would help them? Long-phase father? Impossible. He was in the infernal realm. He wouldn't even be here. So it definitely wasn't him. Who could it be? Even when Li Yuanba thought of everything, he still could not figure out who would help them. Furthermore, when this power smashed against him, he still felt that there was something strangely familiar about it. There was a sense of familiarity with this power. The power of the Destiny God. They had released it once in the Kunlun sect, but that time, they were unable to sense the poison even more clearly. However, Li Yuanba's reaction to power surpassed everything else. He felt that this power was not ordinary. Who is it? He let out another shout. The gigantic figure from the ninth heaven revealed a sinister smile and then disappeared. The fat man Chen laughed. Brother Yuan Ba, since he's someone who helped us, who cares who he is, huh? The Arhood also said indifferently. That's right, if not for his strength, we wouldn't have been able to kill Zhang Wushuang. It's a little strange. Since the first wave of heavenly tribulation energy had entered Zhang Wushuang's forehead, a white light suddenly exploded and covered Zhang Wushuang's body, making it impossible to see what was going on inside. He did not know whether Zhang Wushuang was dead or alive. This was completely different from the bombardment of heavenly tribulation. How strange. However, at that moment, everyone thought that Zhang Wushuang was about to die. Xinyuan tribesman was cheering and celebrating. The disciples of the fairyland of Tower Question of God were all incomparably depressed, and they were all slowly moving to the back. With Zhang Wushuang's death, there was no need for them to continue, nor was there a need to throw their lives away. Who would die for a dying man? The Tower Master of the Tower Question of God also shivered in his heart and said slightly, "What a pity, what a pity." Zhang Wushuang, tell me, why didn't you enter the ancient holy battlefield? If I had entered the ancient holy battlefield, there wouldn't be so many things. Not even my share. Owner of Tower Question of God was a little angry. He also felt that Zhang Wushuang would definitely die this time. The power released by the 8 King Kong had completely exceeded his expectations. These 8 people could not be easily provoked, so even when Zhang Wushuang was attacked, he did not intervene. He didn't want to take another attack of the heavenly tribulation. And then there was Zhang Wushuang. The first power surged into the space between his eyebrows. He was extremely unhappy, and his anger soared to the heavens. But a sound transmission entered his body at this moment. His eyes suddenly shook as he sneered sinisterly. His entire body immediately gave up resisting. Zhang Wushuang's heart was in ecstasy. Come, come, bring out your strongest power. Ha ha! The god's shield was frantically absorbing the energy that was pouring into his body. He was like a mad demon. The white light became thinner and thinner. It was continuously being absorbed by him. As for Zhang Wushuang, he was even more of a madman. He wouldn't absorb a single bit of it himself, as all of it would be absorbed by the god's shield. The god shield itself was a main artifact. The god power could make him release an even stronger power, which was beyond imagination. The god power that the god of fate infused was the power of main god. God's shield were like greedy mosquitoes as they crazily devoured the food. Zhang Wushuang could clearly feel that the energy within the god's shield was expanding, crazily strengthening, and he was becoming more and more excited as well. Mad laughter rang out from within the white light. Everyone shivered. Li Yuanba's face changed. Something's wrong. The other 8 King Kong also felt it. His strength is expanding, becoming stronger. How is this possible? Oya frowned. The sky spirit looked at the sky and muttered, "That power is indeed a little familiar. It's as if I've seen it somewhere." Suddenly, Li Yuanba's eyes were filled with anger. His body suddenly trembled. Fate, judgment. 7 King Kongs was startled. When they thought about the judgment power of destiny that could destroy almost everything in the Kunlun sect, their faces suddenly turned pale. Destiny God. The power of the Destiny God. It's him. Cluck, cluck, cluck. Everyone gritted their teeth. In Kunlun sect, their cultivations were all at least at the seal, but the power of fate's judgment, the kind of pressure that everyone remembered in their hearts. Every single one of them hated destiny god to the bone. However, they did not think that before they could seek revenge, the power of the destiny god would appear once again. Seeing that the white halo on Zhang Wushuang's body was becoming thinner and thinner, and that the strength of his body was becoming thicker and thicker, Li Yuanba suddenly roared out, "Quickly run! Quickly run! Quickly leave this place! Quickly!" The power of the 8 King Kong was almost used up when he released the heavenly tribulation. They no longer had the strength to summon the heavenly tribulation. Moreover, even if he summoned out the heavenly tribulation, it wouldn't be able to harm a single hair on Zhang Wushuang's body. They knew it very well. The god of fate borrowed their god's suffering force and poured a powerful force into Zhang Wushuang's body. This power, they couldn't resist at all. The only option left now was to flee. Xianyuan Xiong was startled. Xianyuan tribesman also had a look of bewilderment. They had obviously suppressed Zhang Wushuang. Why do they have to run? What's there to run for? Why are you running? Zhang Wushuang is about to die. Xianyuan Xiong looked at Li Yuanba and asked, "King Kong, what happened?" Li Yuanba descended from the sky. Boom! It landed not far from Zhang Wushuang. Next, the other 7 King Kongs all descended and surrounded Zhang Wushuang. Li Yuanba shouted out loud, "I don't have a world to explain. All of you run. Quickly leave this secret world. Quickly." In the end, he almost roared. Xianyuan Xiong roared out and said, "Let's go. Get out of here." Xianyuan Xiong looked at the faintly discernible figure of Zhang Wushuang within the white light, and his heart shivered. Could it be that Zhang Wushuang is still not dead? Immediately, Xianyuan Xiong also shouted loudly, "Retreat! Retreat to secret world!" Faster, the numerous Xianyuan tribesmen quickly retreated. If Zhang Wushuang truly did not die, then his strength was too terrifying. Ahaha! Ahaha! A sinister and terrifying laughter rang out. "You want to escape? Humph! Xianyuan Xiong, today, your Xianyuan nationality will be exterminated here. And your 8 King Kong, all of you have to die, huh?" Zhang Wushuang laughed sinisterly. The black knife moved. "Even if you want to die, you have to die first." The black blade chi flashed across the sky, and with a condense, it formed a gigantic black knife, slashing towards the top of Zhang Wushuang's head. Rumble! A loud sound echoed out. Also at this moment, the white halo surrounding Zhang Wushuang's body completely disappeared. Raising his eyes slightly, he looked at the black blade chi that was hacking down from above his head, and then moved his fingers. Buzz! 2 fingers clamped down onto the gigantic black blade chi. Zhang Wushuang laughed disdainfully. "You will all die." Chapter 1628, Mad Crush. Chapter 1628. Mad Crush's 2 fingers moved and clamped. Crack! The black blade chi that seemed to be solid instantly ruptured and scattered down. Zhang Wushuang laughed sinisterly, so weak. The power was completely different. The black knife's eyes turned sinister as it bellowed. Then, the blade chi on its body exploded like flames. "Wong! Uncle!" Oya shouted. The black knife moved with all its might, and the big black knife in its hand fused into the air, used the blade as the spirit. Sky slash! The black knife moved, stepping forward step by step. It seemed very slow, but it was an illusion. The illusions overlapped. The black knife instantly appeared in front of Zhang Wushuang and extended its right hand into the air. Ah! Veins bulged all over his body. Power like thunder. Rumble! The air shattered, and a blazing black knife appeared. Above the black knife, a gigantic shadow stared coldly at Zhang Wushuang with unbridled power. And then, the simulacrum roared, "Bring it on!" The black knife's soul was suddenly pulled out. In an instant, a single slash, the power of the heavenly slash, came crashing down. This was the black knife's forbidden technique. This was a special kind of blade chi. The raging blade sovereign. Zhang Wushuang sneered sinisterly and said, "Arrogant knife, King Kong? TSK, with just this little strength of yours? Courting death." Boom! Zhan Wushuang's hand slightly moved, his 5 fingers furiously stretched out, and a powerful force circulated in the center of his palm. Rumble! He exploded forth with his strength. Crack! Crack! The air emitted cracking sounds as the surrounding space began to crack and distort. The black knife's face revealed pain. Li Yuanba roared, his fist striking the acupuncture points on his chest. Gate of healing open. Brother Yuanba, you can't. No way. A few people shouted. Buzz. With a loud bang, Li Yuanba's body turned scarlet red once again. When the power of the gate of healing opened, the strength of his body experienced an earth-shattering change. He took a step forward. Boom! The power of the gate of healing, chop. Li Yuanba leaped high into the air, the giant spirit axe in his hands furiously slashing down. Chen Tianfei also roared out, Earth battle armor, activate. Boom! Deep underground, there was a thunderous roar. The power of the earth element surged out and gushed into his body, forming an incomparably thick defensive force. Chen Tianfei instantly charged forward. Boom! Boom! Aoya's sword spirit had formed. Lin Yoxing's one with the heaven water. Dragon subduing's gold dragon strike. The power of one forbidden art after another was fully unleashed. Moreover, other than Li Yuanba's gate of healing being awakened, their powers, including the black knife's raging blade Ji Zun's, they had all broken through forcefully. This would cause huge harm to their bodies, but at this time, they did not care at all. Don't be terrified. That's it. If the Black Knife S went up, they had no choice but to go up. 8 King Kong was unable to do it. Wave after wave of power exploded out. The unique forbidden technique of the 8 King Kong struck down. Too powerful. This was the most explosive power of the Diamond Force. The entire fairyland of Tower Question of God began to tremble, as he was unable to withstand the auras of the 8 great forces. These 8 people are too strong. It completely surpasses the power system of the Chaos Realm. What exactly are the 8 of them? 8 King Kong. What secrets are they hiding? This is unbelievable. He could tell that the power of the 8 King Kong had yet to fully awaken. To be exact, they should be at the edge of an awakening threshold if all of them were to awaken. Owner of Tower Question of God could not imagine such a scene. However, Owner of Tower Question of God muttered, "What a pity. It's a pity that all of you are long phase people. Otherwise, if we were to go to Impact Sky Tower together, you would definitely be able to break through the 100th floor. What a pity, what a pity. You're all going to die soon." Owner of Tower Question of God said coldly. The current Zhan Wushuang's strength was completely different. Even though Zhan Wushuang's body was faintly sinking, but he still used the strength of one hand to block it. 8 King Kong, I want you to become 8 dogs. On top of Zhan Wushuang's right hand, a burst of power came out. Wong! The power of a white divine light burst out. All of you must die. Rumble! Empyrean, God heavy blow. Zhan Wushuang glared, and the power of main god on the god's shield exploded, forming a super powerful shockwave. Boom, boom, boom. 8 King Kong was instantly sent flying. Without waiting for them to fall, Zhan Wushuang's figure moved, schwa. It landed on top of Li Yuanba's head. Shield attack. The god's shield smashed down heavily, smashing on Li Yuanba's chest. The bones beneath his chest were all broken. A mouthful of blood sprayed out wildly, and his body fell down like lightning. The ground shook, and a huge crater was created from the explosion. At this moment, Zhan Wushuang's figure moved again. Boom! The Sky Spirit's chest split open. Boom! Chen Tianfei's chest split open. Boom! Lin Yoxing's chest split open. Bang, bang, bang. In less than half a second, all the 8 King Kong S were smashed down from the sky by Zhan Wushuang, and every single one of them were critically injured and on the verge of death. 8 deep craters were blasted open on the ground. The 8 of them were lying in the deep pit, their faces as pale as paper, black blood constantly dripping from their mouths. They tightly clenched their fists, wanting to desperately stand up, but they could no longer stand. It was too hard. His chest began to crack bit by bit, and all the bones in his body were about to shatter from the impact. Buzz! Zhan Wushuang floated in midair, looked at the 8 deep pits on the ground, and laughed coldly. 8 King Kong? Ha ha! Right now it's just 8 piles of dog shit. Ha ha! Ha ha! Zhan Wushuang laughed out arrogantly. At the same time, Destiny God above the 9th heaven also laughed out loud. You dare to escape my control? This is what happens to you, huh? You want to overturn the heavens with just the 8 of you. You overestimate yourself. Although the god of fate's shadow had disappeared, he still stared at Chaos Realm. Seeing the 8 of them lying in the deep pit like dead dogs, he laughed coldly. For those who escaped his control, there was only one outcome. Die. Ha ha ha. Fate laughed. In the deep pit, Li Yuanba panted like an ox. His heart was surging with energy, trying to force open the second door of the forbidden technique, but his strength could not meet that requirement. The second door. Open, open. Ah! He was King Kong. Long Fei was not present. He was the big brother of Kong Kim, so he had to shoulder the responsibility of protecting them. As long as he could open the second door, then his power would be even greater. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't. He had done his best. Zhan Wushuang landed, walked forward step by step, with dense killing intent. Chapter 16:29. The Destiny God's Fury. Chapter 16:29. The Destiny God's Fury. Ha ha. Ha ha. Zhan Wushuang laughed madly. 8 King Kong, call your master over. Call him out, you guys. You think you are worthy to fight against me? He was like a mad demon. The anger in Zhan Wushuang's heart had yet to be vented. He had never placed the 8 King Kong in his eyes, even if they had activated a forbidden technique. As long as the god's shield S were in his hands, he would never fear them. How could a main artifact's power be weak like that? Impossible. Li Yuanba laid on the ground and laughed along with him. Zhan Wushuang, you prepare to turn into a dead dog the moment our boss arrives. You think you can beat my boss? You don't even have enough shoes for him, do you? Boss is here. You're going to die. Zhan Wushuang, who do you think you are? You are just a rock in front of our boss. He can send you flying with a kick at any time. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. 8 King Kong fell into a pool of blood and started to laugh maniacally. Even if they were to die, they would not be afraid. Never be afraid. Never be afraid. No matter who he was facing, it was still the same for 8 King Kong. They had earned a lot from living each and every day. They cherished every single day they followed Long Fei, so they had to work even harder than anyone else to cultivate. Because they were strong enough, they were qualified to follow Long Fei. Now that they had been smashed to the ground, they could only accept it, but not submit. Zhan Wushuang laughed coldly and said, your mouths are truly harder than a duck's. If that's the case, then let's see how hard you guys are. Buzz! Zhan Wushuang's power exploded. Li Yuanba roared out and said, come, if you can't kill me today, in the future, I will definitely kill you. Ha ha ha! King Kong, you will scare people. Ha! 8 King Kong laughed madly. Zhan Wushuang was enraged. Die. The power of thunder rumbled as it came crashing down. At that moment, a stream of light flashed. Sky shatter sword. Sword energy overturned the sky. The fiery red sword beam slashed down. Incomparable power. Zhan Wushuang slightly turned, and seeing that flowing light, his eyes flashed with a glint as he laughed coldly. Long Fei, you're finally here. He withdrew his strength. All of his power exploded towards Long Fei. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The sword chi of the Sky Shatter Sword was blocked, and Long Fei's figure also landed. He stared intently at Zhan Wushuang as his heart secretly stirred. Damn, what a strong aura. The ancestors of Zhan's was right. The moment when Zhan Wushuang broke through the god's tower, his power was no longer the normal power of the Chaos Realm. When the two forces collided with Long Fei's Sky Shatter Sword, it was obvious that it was at a disadvantage. It slowly let out cracking sounds. However, but could not stop Zhan Wushuang's release of power. It could be seen how strong Zhan Wushuang was right now. The sword aura was gradually crushed, and Long Fei took the opportunity to retract his body. His figure was illusory as he landed in front of the huge pit in 8 King Kong. "Damn you!" Long Fei burst out in vulgarities. He quickly opened the system's merchant shop and exchanged for a few super healing pills. "Quickly consume it." Zhan Wushuang did not rush or slow down, and coldly looked at Long Fei. "Are you angry?" "Long Fei, I'm really glad you're here, because I want to trample you to death in front of Lier. I will trample you to death in front of the people of Zhan clan. Long Fei, I, Zhan Wushuang, will definitely kill you." Each word carried killing intent as the power within him frenziedly surged. Zhan clan had been annihilated, and now he was the only one left. This hatred nearly made Zhan Wushuang lose his rationality. However, one of them was even more enraged. "Fate! Impossible, impossible, absolutely impossible. No one can escape the punishment of fate. No one can." Never in his dreams did he expect that Long Fei was still alive. After fate's judgment, he did not care about what happened in Chaos Realm. After all, moreover, most of his energy was focused on the battlefield between the divinity and the ancient holy battlefield. Who would care about the life and death of a disciple from a lower plane? But now, seeing Long Fei's fate, the anger in his heart shot up to the sky. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Thunder roared from above the 9 heavens, as if the heavens were enraged. After Li Yuanba swallowed the pill, his injuries stabilized and said softly, "Boss, Destiny God. Destiny God is helping Zhan Wushuang." In that instant, Long Fei slightly raised his eyes. It was also at this time. A gigantic face appeared in the sky. Destiny God's face, as well as his 2 eyes, stared straight at Long Fei. "You dog, you're not dead yet." Long Fei grinned and said, "If you don't die, how can I die?" At this moment, the Tower Lord of the Tower Question of God suddenly kneeled on the ground, his heart trembling. All the Saint Presbyters kneeled on the ground. The arrival of the Destiny God was a great honor to them. Zhan Wushuang was also slightly shocked. However, a cold smile appeared on his face as he said, "Long Fei, even if you have 10,000 lives today, it won't be enough to kill you." Long Fei turned and looked at Zhan Wushuang. "Don't worry, you will definitely die before I die." He also did not expect that the Destiny God would appear at this time. Even more so, he did not expect the Destiny God to help Zhan Wushuang. That Zhan Wushuang's strength was definitely stronger than he had imagined, and his God Shield should have undergone a second metamorphosis. The God Shield that was injected with the power of Main God was completely different. Although this was not Zhan Wushuang's own power, as long as this power erupted, he would be unable to resist. Long Fei's heart sank and asked, "Colorful Fairy Dragon, how is the fusion of the dragon souls going?" The colorful fairy dragon responded lightly, saying, "I still need a little more time." Huff! Long Fei let out a small sigh. The colorful fairy dragon's power must completely recover the dragon's soul, divine spark, exquisite prison, and infinite review's power before he could truly restore his peak strength. Suddenly, Destiny God shouted coldly, "Kill him!" The Tower Master of the Tower Question of God immediately said, "Disciple understands." Buzz! All disciples heed my orders. Go all out to kill Long Fei. We absolutely cannot let him escape. The Tower Question of God's Tower Lord roared. So this matter had to be done well. This was the God of fate. If he could make him happy, then he would definitely be able to rise to greatness in the future. The Tower Question of God Tower Master had been waiting. He was waiting for an opportunity, a chance to be promoted. He had initially thought that Zhan Wushuang was the chance he had been waiting for. But now, it seemed that Long Fei was the chance he was waiting for. If he killed him, he would be able to leave this damned low plane and enter the divinity. Owner of Tower Question of God's eyes turned sinister. Long Fei, prepare to die. Chapter 1630. More than people? Come on. Chapter 1630. More than people? Come on. At this moment, Tower Question of God Floor 100. Xin Yuan Lier opened his eyes once again and walked to the saint. Holy saint, I want a challenge. Saint Presbyter also opened his eyes, saying that fast. Xin Yuan Lier, you should calm your heart and cultivate right now and not blindly challenge others. The Saint Presbyter could not allow Xin Yuan Lier to pass the challenge so easily. This was Zhan Wushuang's order. Now that even the destiny god was helping Zhan Wushuang, he, as a saint, should serve Zhan Wushuang even more. They could not let Xin Yuan Lier break through the god's tower. Otherwise, Zhan Wushuang's plan would be disrupted. Xin Yuan Lier said firmly, I'm ready. She could sense the aura of the Xin Yuan tribesman and knew that her father had arrived. The same, she had also felt Long Fei's aura, and she had an incomparable desire to see Long Fei. She could not wait, an incomparable desire to see Long Fei, so she would give it her all this time. Saint said, I advise you to train for a bit longer. Xin Yuan Lier said, I insist on challenging them. Saint said, Miss, you better listen to me. If you make me unhappy, you won't have a good ending. Xin Yuan Lier said, I insist on challenging them. The Saint Elder's face turned sinister. You, Xin Yuan Lier said, Holy Saint, please accept my challenge. All right. The Saint was slightly angered as he said, I shall see how much you have improved in this short span of 2 hours. Come. Buzz. The power of the Saint slightly moved and suddenly exploded. It was also at this moment. The sword in Xin Yuan Lier's hand moved and said, I'm attacking. With the destiny god as their backing, the disciples of the fairyland of Tower Question of God were fearless. They all rushed towards Long Fei like a tide. It surrounded Long Fei so tightly that not even a drop of water could leak out. The Tower Question of God Tower Master stared at Long Fei and said, Long Fei, resign yourself to your fate. Accept your fate. Ha ha. Long Fei laughed. Accept your fate? I don't have the word resignation in my dictionary. Sweeping his gaze across, the disciples and elders of the tens of thousands of Tower Question of God in the surroundings, Long Fei faintly smiled and said, Are there more people than others? Owner of Tower Question of God sneered and said, So what if they have more people? Long Fei, do you still have anyone else to help you? Who will help you in the entire chaos realm? Who would go against the heavens? Who dares to oppose the heavens? The owner of Tower Question of God laughed. The god of fate was the sky. The main temple was the sky. The rulers that controlled the 100,000 planes, they were the sky, the supreme existence. Who would dare to oppose him? At this time, Li Yuanba crawled out from the deep pit and said with a heavy tone, I dare. I dare. I dare to. The sky is so big. Killing him must be extremely interesting. How could I be missing out? Ha ha ha. Me too. 8 King Kong climbed up from the deep hole one by one. Although they did not recover their strength, they did not cower. Nangongyan walked out and said, I dare to as well. Xin Yuan Xiong brought the Xin Yuan tribesman back and shouted in unison, We also dare. More than others? Ha ha. Long Fei grinned and said, I'll let you know what it means to have more people. A spatial teleportation talisman shattered. Buzz. A bloody mist exploded and a mournful voice rang out. Who wanted my official's life? Queen of Blood Moon walked out of the spatial order badge, and in that instant, she brought all of the ghosts, caves, evil spirits out, causing Chi Mei to instantly fill up the entire place. The Queen of Blood Moon was also completely different from before. His gaze swept across and stared straight at owner of Tower Question of God, exclaiming, You wanted my official's life? His gaze was filled with boundless killing intent. It brought with it a cold and aloof aura similar to that of the queen. Owner of Tower Question of God was shocked. Queen of Blood Moon was also a very special existence. At this time, Long Fei laughed coldly once again and said, More people. The Sea of Infinitas' teleportation order badge shattered. Boom. Buzz. A burst of water ripple. The mermaid did not come out, but an enormous divine robe appeared first. The Poseidon's cannon. Nasha's huge body charged out of the spatial badge. His gaze shifted, and the Poseidon's cannon locked onto someone as it furiously spoke. Who dares to touch Murloc's clan's benefactor? Next, a phone brought his Murloc's clan along and attacked them all. The explosion occurred again. Instantly, they surrounded the disciples of the Tower Question of Goddess. Nasha shouted, "Our Murloc's clan does not know what the heavens are, nor do we know what the gods are. We only know that we must kill whoever dares to touch our benefactor. More than others, let's compete." Long Fei held onto the last order badge in his hand, and on it was an engraving of a phoenix. The idea moved slightly. "Jojo, how are you right now?" He immediately crushed it to smithereens. Rumble. The Phoenix Realm's spatial command medallion shattered. At the same time, above the golden phoenix nest, the heart of Phoenix suddenly exploded into a beam of golden light, and the golden light spread across the entire plane. In that instant, the 10,000 phoenixes returned to their nests and crazily revolved. Many energies surged into the heart of Phoenix. Rumble. Amongst the S of the Tower Question of God, a phoenix rushed out and shouted solemnly, "Our phoenix race dares to oppose the heavens as well." The myriad phoenix assault struck. The last one floated in the air. His body flickered with a rainbow-colored halo. He was extremely fair, and Long Fei would never forget that face. Jojo. The instant Jojo rushed out of the space, he threw himself into Long Fei's embrace, young Master Long Fei. At this moment, the aura on her body was too strong. Jojo's eyes moved as he stared at the Tower Master of the Tower Question of God and asked, "You're the one that wants to kill my young master?" Gudong. The Tower Master of the Tower Question of God could not help but swallow his saliva as his heart trembled. Looking at the increasing number of people, he realized that they were not the ones who were surrounding Long Fei right now, but Long Fei himself. He had never thought that this would be the case. However, this was not the end. Long Fei stared at owner of Tower Question of God and Zhan Wushuang. "More people? Do you know what it means to have more people now?" As soon as he finished speaking, hell, the heavenly court, opened the secret world. Boom, boom. The people from the two major bases all rushed out, each of them extremely brutal, just like a ferocious beast. "Who wants our sect leader? Damn it. You don't want to stay in this mess anymore, right?" Each one of them was extremely savage. Boom. The sky-swallowing rat came out. Boom. The Beast King Question of God came out. Boom. The Gods War beasts rushed out. Boom. The Bemin rushed out. The Bloody Bull of Underworld rushed out. Long Fei laughed coldly. "Are there more people than others?" At this moment, the system suddenly sounded out. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for creating the Gods Martial Sect Association. Current level, 10. Ding! Trigger the teleportation function of the guild. Do you want to start the teleportation? Chapter 16:31. All present. Chapter 16:31. All present. A large wave after another was teleported by Long Fei. This also directly led to the establishment of the Gang Gods Martial Sect S by Long Fei to directly level up a rank 10 guild. There was a special attribute of the sect, the guild teleportation technique. As long as they activated it, they would be able to teleport all the members of the gang to where Long Fei was. Long Fei was stunned. A level 10 gang. Ding! The system beep sounded again. Do you want to activate the gang transfer? This was the moment that Long Fei had yearned for day and night. He really wanted to teleport the relatives of the people in the Gods Martial Continent over to him. It was finally going to happen. Leopard Girl, 1000, Luo Shi. Bring it on. Dragon ancestors, come. Long Fei's gaze tensed up. He stared at the distant owner of Tower Question of God and the arrogant Zhan Wushuang and laughed coldly. Compared to lousy, you have more people. I'll let you know what it means to have more people. Boom. Bring it on. Long Fei moved and bellowed. Activate the teleportation function of the gang. Buzz. Suddenly, a buzzing sound came out of thin air, followed by the void door opening up. The entire fairyland of Tower Question of God was shocked on the inside. Even the destiny god above the ninth heaven shivered and asked in a heavy voice, "Large-scale teleportation power? Who is he trying to teleport to?" Rumble, rumble, rumble. Powerful energy continued to burst out of the void. It was incomparably strong as the void door opened up. Roar! A gigantic dragon was the first to rush out. Roar! Green dragon scales and a huge dragon's body. The moment it rushed out, it let out a roar, and the dragon's roar wreaked havoc as its power erupted forth. The scene was extremely domineering. Dragon might defied the heavens. To be able to crush the entire fairyland of Tower Question of God. The dragon was an existence that was super strong in everyone's hearts. Dragon. It's a dragon. He actually teleported a dragon here. Didn't the dragon race perish a long time ago? How can there be a dragon? The surrounding crowd was dumbfounded. Only the 8 King Kong-s of the gods' martial continent were incomparably excited because they had seen the green dragon ancestor before. The moment the green dragon ancestor rushed out of the void door, he heavily looked at Long Fei, boss. At this moment, Patriarch Sea Dragon charged out. 8 golden dragons rushed out. Poisonous Ancestor, Black Dragon Ancestor, they all rushed out, and all landed on Long Fei's body, placing all their weight on top of his boss. His might and domineering aura were in complete disarray. Dora Wind has to be Dora Wind. The disciples of the fairyland of Tower Question of God were all dumbfounded. What are the names of the dragons called? Why are there so many dragons? The dragons should have perished. This is unbelievable. Boss, who exactly is this Long Fei? Isn't this too terrifying? All of their faces paled. The dozen or so dragon patriarchs were simply too awesome. However, this was only the beginning. Roar. One by one, the Long family disciples turned into dragons and rushed out of the void door. Who is it? Who wants to touch my grandson? Crazy Long turned into a tyrant WYRM covered in golden dragon scales and rushed out in an extremely ferocious manner. Sweeping his eyes across the place, he stared at the Tower Lord of the Tower Question of God and shouted, "Are you the one who is going to make a move on Long Fei?" Gudong, owner of Tower Question of God, swallowed his saliva. His head was a little numb. What was Long Fei doing? Right now, the fairyland of Tower Question of God was densely packed with Long Fei's people. What was he trying to do? He was the one who surrounded Long Fei earlier, but now, in just a few minutes, Long Fei had surrounded them, each and every one of them extremely ferocious. Even those who had rushed out from the lower realm god's martial continent were incomparably arrogant and valiant, especially when those dragon ancestral saints appeared. What was he trying to do? Owner of Tower Question of God's heart started to tremble. Zhan Wushuang's eyes were still cold and filled with killing intent. Suddenly, a light and nimble voice sounded out, "Long Fei." When Lu Luoxi walked out of the void door, she was dressed in white and floated down from the sky. In a few years, she had become even more beautiful and mature. It was the season for ripe harvesting. Lu Luoxi was the leader, followed by the leopard girl, Xiao Tiantan, Yi Zian, Qian Qian. The sisters all walked out one by one. Moreover, what was different from the other warriors in the god's martial continent was that their cultivation auras were very strong. Even Long Fei was shocked on the inside. They were not weaker than the Chaos Realm's semi-realistic realm. What kind of power was this? 3 years' time, Hanba had taught them a lot of things. During this period of time, they had been cultivating all the time, completely forgetting about the things in the god's martial continent. Upon entering the Chaos Realm, the auras on their bodies underwent an earth-shattering change, just like jumping levels. There was no need to transcend tribulation. Actually, there was no problem at all with their strength undergoing the tribulation. However, there was no problem at all. After all, if 100,000 planes succeeded in undergoing the tribulation, it was unknown which plane you would enter. They were waiting for Long Fei's summons. "Husband, you scoundrel, you finally remembered us." "Humph, sir, I'm here." All the girls were beautiful and incomparably beautiful, making them look extremely charming. The surrounding martial artists were all extremely envious. Walala. Long Fei was instantly surrounded by the female army. Long Fei was extremely excited to see them appear. He thought to himself, when this daddy finishes off Zhang Wushuang, I will definitely make a gigantic bed and roll in the sheets together and fight a great battle for 30,000 rounds. Ha ha. At this time, boss, boom, boom. The last two void doors to come out were Xiao Bai and Ice and Fire. At this moment, Xiao Bai had already cultivated a human form. Her ice and fire wings had also turned golden. The kind of defense on her body was completely different. Ha ha ha. Seeing Xiao Bai, he could not help but think of his big move. It's good that you're here. It's good that you're here. The two fellows were incomparably excited, tears on the verge of flowing out of their eyes. The void door closed. Long Fei raised his eyes slightly, looked at the destiny goddess that were above the ninth heaven, then stared at Zhang Wushuang, an owner of Tower Question of God, and said, "More people? Come on, let's have a competition." Owner of Tower Question of God's face darkened. He really regretted saying that now. More people than anything. Now he was surrounded. This Long Fei was too terrifying. Seeing that the owner of Tower Question of God was silent, Long Fei roared out loud and said, "Do you still want to compete? You want to compete with Lousy Moore? Was this great?" However, Long Fei moved and smiled. Just few people are not even enough to fill the gaps in my teeth. More than others? I'll let you know what it means to have more people. Long Fei still had yet to use his big move. Chapter 16:32, Killing. Chapter 16:32. Killing. Since it had come to this, there was nothing to hide. The people of God's martial continent had already summoned them. What was there to worry about? If you want to do it, then do it big. Long Fei grinned, and the idea moved. Buzz. Scatter seeds, which become solidars. 100,000 heaven soldiers, fall for me. Rumble. Spirit power transformed into magic weapon S that appeared out of nowhere on the ground, blocking the entire divine spirit secret world so that not even a drop of water could leak out. Thunder God greets you, my lord. Thunder God knelt in front of Long Fei. He was the spirit general that he had summoned this time. His voice fell. 100,000 magic weapon kneeled on the ground and said in unison, "We pay our respects to the Lord." Boom, boom, boom. His voice shook the heavens and reverberated for a long time. Awesome. At this point, the Tower Question of God disciples began to tremble one by one. This. My God, who exactly is Long Fei? This scene, the Tower Question of God was completely crushed. His scalp went numb. It was as if his head couldn't take it anymore. There were too many people, and the entire fairyland of Tower Question of God was filled with people. All of them were Long Fei's men, and many of them started to tremble. Too deadly. Hundreds of thousands of people surrounding tens of thousands of people. Just what kind of concept was this? Long Fei laughed coldly as he stared at owner of Tower Question of God. I just want to ask, who else is there? Owner of Tower Question of God clenched his teeth, unable to say a word. It wasn't because of Long Fei's crushing pressure, but because of the pressure formed by the tens of thousands of pairs of eyes surrounding him. This feeling was rather uncomfortable. Zhang Wushuang sneered and said, "A motley crowd. Long Fei's world is not filled with people. You trash him. This is simply a joke." In that instant, Xiao Bai was enraged. Without saying a word, he stabbed the divine spear down from the sky, letting out a heavy shout. "You little brat, who are you calling trash? Who's the trash?" Zhang Wushuang's eyes turned cold. He looked at the godly spear that fell from the sky. His eyes darkened. His right hand grabbed one of the disciples and resisted. Boom! The divine spear pierced through his body. Instant kill. A brutal comparison. Zhang Wushuang's expression changed. Xiao Bai shouted heavily, "Who's the trash? Damn, you dare to be so arrogant with us? You're just a piece of trash." It was extremely domineering. Long Fei grinned and said, "A motley crowd? Then let's see who is the rabble." In that instant, Long Fei let out a loud shout, waved his finger, and coldly laughed. Kill. Boom. Boom. It was too sudden. It exploded all at once. 8 King Kong took the lead. 14 dragon clans roared out, and the killing shouts of the Long family disciples shook the skies. The Phoenix race, on the other hand, crazily healed the entire audience. The evil spring stood in the middle. The fire unicorn madly shot. With a blast of Nasha's Poseidon's wrath, a foam brought the Murlocs clan to attack. The 10,000 ghosts under the Queen of Blood Moon roared. In that instant, tens of thousands of fairyland of Tower Question of God's disciples crumbled as they cried and screamed, and were so scared that they forgot to retaliate. Facing such a powerful lineup, even divine-level powerhouse-s were shocked. It began to tremble. How many people had seen such a scene before? Owner of Tower Question of God clenched his teeth so hard that they crackled loudly. The killing intent in his heart grew stronger and stronger as he roared out in a low voice. Long Fei, you better stop right now. Not waiting for him to finish. Black Dragon Ancestor swung his tail. Stop your sister's hand. Your father has been itching for so many years. You want us to stop? Boom! With a swing of its tail, owner of Tower Question of God was overturned. A critical hit appeared above his head. Long Fei shrugged his shoulders and laughed. I am sorry, but my brother is having fun. He would definitely not stop. And he wants to stop, right? Release Lear. Now, the only thing that Long Fei was concerned about was Lear's consolation. What was going on with her on the 100th floor? Who is Lear? You scoundrel. You found us another sister? Another woman? Humph. This man must be kept in check, or all the women in the world will be taken by him. Hee. Young master is so handsome. Although you have changed your face, you look even more handsome. Sister Jojo, you can't let him go like this. He must be kept in check. Even if he doesn't provoke women, a man like him has countless women sticking close to him. Officer, I don't care how many women you have. In any case, you're the only man I'll ever have in my life. Queen of Blood Moon had a face full of happiness. She really missed that night. Too nostalgic. Elder sister, have you rolled over the bed with Long Fei? Queen of Blood Moon nodded and said, That's right. Don't tell me you guys don't have it. Shapatantan interrupted. Great senior sister. You listen, the damn hooligan has already rolled around in bed with someone. No way. We must capture him at night and severely punish him. Yi Zian laughed. Tian, you want to show off your domineering chest? You've grown up a lot, but you've also matured a lot. You're starting to miss spring? Air. Xiao Tiantian's face flushed red. Senior sister, don't say that you don't want to. I've heard you call that scoundrel by his name several times in your dreams. Are you here to help boss or to chat? Can we chat later? They're really fighting. When women started chat, they all stopped playing. The more women there were, the happier they were. 3 women for play, more than 10 women. That would be a concert. Above 9 days. The Destiny God watched all of this coldly with a hint of anger in his eyes. He never thought that Long Fei's current power would be strong to such an extent. I absolutely can't let him develop any further. Today, he had to kill Long Fei. The Destiny God idea moved and faintly sent a sound transmission to Zhang Wushuang. What are you waiting for? I didn't give you the power to stay and watch the show. Zhang Wushuang raised his eyes slightly, then laughed. God of Destiny, I'm waiting. Destiny God was startled and asked, Wait for what? Zhang Wushuang said, Wait for my container. Destiny God was startled. Container? Zhang Wushuang could clearly feel what was happening on the 100th floor, and when Xinyuan Li Air was truly attacking with all his strength, that Saint Presbyter could no longer hold on. It wouldn't be long before Xinyuan Li Air broke through the 100 layer of God's tower. At that time, Xinyuan Li Air's container had matured. Zhang Wushuang smiled slightly. Rest assured, I will definitely help you kill Long Fei. You want him dead now? Or let him die in a few minutes? Zhang Wushuang did not even put Long Fei in his eyes. He could defeat Long Fei twice, but this time, he could also do the same, and it would be a one-hit kill. Destiny God laughed and said, Kill them now. Zhang Wushuang sneered and said, "As you command." Chapter 1633, My Power Restored. Chapter 1633, My Power Restored. It would be easy to kill Long Fei. A battle erupted. No one could hurt him, and he did not make a move. Because of disdain, now that the Destiny God had spoken, he had to take action. After all, the Destiny God was a very, very big backing. Before his powers had completely awakened and the main artifact's powers had completely exploded, Zhang Wushuang would have to rely on him for a while. In that instant, Zhang Wushuang's gaze darkened as he fiercely locked on a Long Fei. The corners of his mouth hooked up as he said, "Long Fei, go and die," he said coldly. To put it simply, he did not even place Long Fei in his eyes. F***CK. Bing was shouted, "Who do you think you are? How dare you make a ruckus with my boss?" He didn't wait for the fire and ice to finish. Zhang Wushuang disappeared. Once his body passed through, he spat out a mouthful of blood, and the defenses on his body instantly collapsed, falling down from the sky. Xiao Bai roared loudly, "Ice and fire." At this moment, Xiao Bai transformed into a white shadow, holding onto the wolf god's lance as he rushed forward. "You get down too." Boom! The moment Zhang Wushuang's voice fell, a powerful surge of divine force directly smashed into his body, and like a heavy hammer smashing down, Xiao Bai also instantly fell from the sky. "How preposterous!" Green Dragon Ancestor roared. When he really wanted to rush forward, Long Fei yelled, "Don't come over! Don't come over! Don't stop him either!" Long Fei immediately said, Zhang Wushuang's strength was too strong. If Destiny God was really helping him, then the hidden power of his life's main artifact would be too terrifying. If the powerhouse on top of the Chaos Realm could not stop him, the people on top of the god's martial continent could even more so. "Huff! Rainbow Divine Power, are you done?" Long Fei bellowed once again. The colorful fairy dragon said slightly, "I still need a little more time." Long Fei's eyes turned sinister. With a flip of his right hand, the burning golden cudgel appeared in his hand. Long Fei's body also instantly changed. Ding! System notification. 100 layers of energy have been activated. Long Fei became the Sun Wukong. He turned around and moved. The golden cudgel in his hands became even more holy, clashing with him heavily. The main artifact on Zhang Wushuang's body suddenly exploded, releasing a burst of power of main god's roar. "Long Fei, with just this little strength of yours? Not enough. Get down. Rumble." The power of the god's shield surged. The two forces clashed. They were both main artifact. In terms of level, Golden Cudgel S were higher than God's Shield S, but in terms of strength, there was a difference of several levels between Golden Cudgel and God's Shield. Bam! The Golden Cudgel flew out of his hands. A thick energy struck Long Fei's chest, causing him to fly out with it. Bam! Smashing onto a large mountain in the distance. The mountain exploded, burying Long Fei within the ruins. He can't even withstand a single blow. Zhang Wushuang laughed coldly. The difference in level between main artifact S was too great, and the power of the Fate God was incomparably strong. "Boss! Boss! Master!" Countless people were shouting. Countless people rushed toward Zhang Wushuang. "If you dare touch my boss, I'll cripple you." Looked like he was about to go crazy. "You made a move on my grandson. I'm going to kill you." At this moment, a deep voice came from the rubble. "Don't go up. He is my..." The colorful fairy dragon slightly said, "My strength has recovered to its peak." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.